Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Bakari Lumumba back once again, the progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage while always betting on Black, back with a dual stream. Once again, we know Bequaline Network, the Pan African social media extraordinaire, the home of positive African centered propaganda, and of course, LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage while always betting on Black. Yes. So I think we have a rather provocative conversation lined up for, of course, this evening. We're going to be discussing Megan Thee Stallion performs at Kamala Harris Rally. When will the political stunt stop? So, family, if you're watching, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well so you can be aware of our future broadcasts. So, once again, family, we're going to be discussing Megan Thee Stallion performing at Kamala Harris Rally in Atlanta. The question is, when will the political stunts stop? Once again, if you're watching, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and like. Hit the notification bell as well. The link is in the chat, family. The link is in the description. I'm sorry, the link is in the description. I'm gonna put the link in the chat momentarily, but I'm gonna read this article from Yahoo that details this issue. And we've talked about political stunts before on the channel. We talked about no voting, no bucking. We talked about strolling to the polls when we had our powerful sister Malika Thomas on the live where she talked about these political stunts, and people do this every, of course, presidential election cycle, but there's no actual discussion or talk about policy or even policy demand. So let me read this article, and then we're going to get right into the conversation. Give me 1 second, family. All right, so yes. So as you can see, Megan Stallion twerks out the vote for Harris in Atlanta. We're about to make history. I want to start off by saying hotties for Harris. Megan Thee Stallion announced as she took the stage to Georgia State Convention Center in Atlanta. The three-time Grammy winner was there to perform at Vice President Kamala Harris' first campaign rally in the city as the presumptive Democratic nominee. Naturally, Megan wore a bright blue pantsuit fit for a hottie, complete with a cropped blazer and button-down shirt, skin-tight bottoms, and a necktie to match. She took care to censor her tracks in keeping the twerking modest as she and her crew of dancers burst into Girls in the Hood, her 2020 flip of an Eazy-E classic. As she performed her viral hit, Mamushi, the crowd sang along, but soon the real reason the rap star was there emerged as she transitioned into Body. Now, I know my ladies in the crowd love their body, she said, fresh out of the Mamushi dance break, and you want to keep your body, you're loving your body, you know who to vote for. I'm happy to be here in Atlanta. We're about to make history with the first female president. The artist declared the first Black female president. Let's get this done. So this is, of course, an issue, and as we can see here, this is even the picture. I guess this is supposed to be some type of quasi-presidential pose or political pose. I don't know, right? It's hard for me to really get an understanding there. But as you can see, family, I'm going to put the link in the chat, and I'm going to put the link in the chat, family. The link is in the description. Tap in, and we want to talk about this because this isn't just something a lot of people say, oh, only Democrats do this. Not the case. If you all were watching the Republican National Convention, Trump had Amber Rose come out, right, and stunt for Trump. Now, she didn't actually perform, but once again, we see this issue of trying to appeal to voters, particularly younger voters, younger demographic, through entertainers, right? And I would argue that's done because there's a belief, or what it infers, is that younger voters aren't as politically mature, right? They aren't typically privy or knowledgeable of the key issues that affects them. And so we can appeal to them through a celebrity, we can get their vote, right? We saw this 20 years ago when I was a young man, and Diddy came out with Vote or Die. Many people mocked that, right? They had some political cartoons where people were actually trying to assault someone because they didn't vote, right? That concept of Vote or Die that came out in 2004. So we see this type of use of a celebrity as a way to try to appeal to younger voters, younger demographics. But the issue is when this is being done, there's typically no policy that is being promoted, no policy that is being discussed regarding why one should vote for, of course, this candidate. Appreciate the thumbs up, Sister Evans. Make sure you tap in, be part of the conversation. We're discussing Megan Thee Stallion performing at Kamala Harris Rally. The question is, when will the political stunt stop? Is this an affront to the Black community? Once again, the link is in the chat. The link is in the description. You're watching the dual stream. LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative where we believe we can gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black. And of course, the Bequaline Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire and the home of African-centered propaganda. So I definitely want to say Ashe, Black Power to that. So, but these are some of the issues that I think we really need to unpack, right? And so I would argue that when we have a chance to speak with candidates or even have a platform, we should be pushing once again, policy, right? I know I was on a brother's platform on Instagram. Let's see if I can bring it up real quick. Brother on Instagram, we were talking. He's a powerful brother out of Cincinnati, and we were discussing official King David the One. We were talking about political issues, and he was arguing, well, they're letting migrants come across the border. And I said, well, they've been letting migrants come across the border. So he said, shut up and stay on code. Les Matthews. So I'm gonna need you to tap in and let's unpack. What do you mean by that? When you say shut up, stay on code, what do you mean by that? So tap in, be part of the conversation. The link is in the chat. Hopefully you be part of the conversation. Mr. Sandman is here as always. The man, the myth, the legend, Philadelphia's own, born and raised. What's going on, brother? You're breaking up on me.
I am. Can you hear me better now?
I hear you much better now. Much better now. Let's see here. We see. I'm so tired of this. Her politics is good. She's not Black or a sister girl. Her dad said she isn't Black. Okay, got you. So you said her politics is good. Tap in, be part of the conversation, and you can let us know what about her politics you believe are beneficial for the Black community, not just at home, but also abroad as well. Because as a Pan-Africanist, I think it's important that we don't support a situation where her politics isn't good. Okay, so you could tap in and let us know why you believe her politics aren't good, because I think it's very important that in terms of whoever we vote for, local, state, or federal, that they aren't in support of political policies that harm our people on a global scale, right? And so I think that's something that we, of course, want to consider. Mr. Sandman, go right ahead. Brother Sandman, go right ahead. Okay, I think we still have it. Go right ahead. Yeah, you're still breaking up on us. Still breaking up on us. Yeah, still breaking up on us. Yeah. So we have some technical difficulties. You may need to tap out and then come back in. Maybe that would help. Right. So yeah, you may be having some. So I'm gonna take you out and then hopefully come back in and maybe the issue will be rectified. All right. Okay. So absolutely, family. So yeah, tap in, be part of the conversation, particularly Les Matthews. You say Black folks, shut up, stay on code. You didn't know what you mean by that. Of course, Hazel Fine, you are stating her politics aren't good. Tap in, let us know what is it about Kamala Harris's politics that you take issue or umbrage with. So, but Brother Sandman, go right ahead. Okay. Don't think we're getting Brother Sandman to come through. So once again, family, we're looking at, okay, let's see here. I know when she visited Ghana, she wanted to encourage homosexuality. My husband said they didn't like her. Okay, understood. We do know that that's part of the American foreign policy to actually promote LGBTQ rights globally, right? We tend to find that from an American global policy perspective, even maybe if some Republican candidates do not, of course, publicly advocate on the back end, behind the scenes, this is something that they, of course, that they push, that, you need to actually advocate and protect the rights of LGBTQ people. So I think that's more so an American foreign policy issue. So that's, of course, something to consider. Something to consider. Mr. Sandman, what's the word?
Am I still breaking up? Am I better this time around?
Crystal clear.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Crystal clear.
Okay, yeah, that's what's up. All right, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's like you said, they trying to appeal to the younger generation. I'm hearing like news that the younger generation, like Gen Z, they're getting old enough to vote now, and a lot of them are leaning liberal. You know what I mean? They're more open to like, a diversity and stuff like that. Like DEI, they're more open to, like, if you go outside, you'll see like a lot of young people with like looking crazy with all kinds of piercings all over their bodies, tattoos, colored hair. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a different world, and that demographic is growing. So, if you look back in history, different generations have different ideologies or the way that they like to live life. Like they say, the silent generation was like ultra conservative, and then the baby boomers were a little bit more free thinkers. You know what I'm saying? You had like Woodstock, and they used to smoke a lot of pot. Then you had Gen X's. I think the Gen X's that was like the lost generation, between the old lifestyle and the new, and then the millennials and Z. So I think it might get to a point where culturally the world is going to have to come back to be more conservative ideologies if they allow this liberal
So let me ask you this:
way
when you
take over a little bit too much,
so
and
let me
it's
ask you this.
unsustainable.
Hold on, let me ask you this question.
Yeah, but it's real weird out there.
Hold on. Hold on, Mr. Sandman.
Megan and all
You're breaking up on me. You're breaking up on me. You're breaking up on me.
Women.
You're breaking up on me. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. So he tapped out again. He's having some connection issues. Can you hear me, Mr. Sandman? Can you hear me?
It's not only a liberal thing, it's also.
Hold on, because you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Type deal too.
You're breaking up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're breaking up. So I'm gonna have to kick you from the studio and then have you come back. Yeah, so I'm gonna put you out and then try to have an issue with your connection, change the location where you're at. But once again, family, the link is in the description. Les Matthews, of course, you had some comments in the chat. Tap in, be part of the conversation. Once again, as I've always stated, you do not have to use your real name. You can use a pseudonym, and you do not have to cam up to be part of the conversation. Also want to make sure we go over some of the ground rules here at Lumumba Speaks. And those ground rules are very simple. Diversity of thought is welcome, right? So diversity of thought is welcome. You can have an opinion. You could be on the left, on the right. You could be right down the middle, right? We don't have an issue with that. Number two, give me one second, family. Number two, no epithets of any kind are allowed on the platform. So if you use a epithet of any kind, you will be booted, of course, from the show. So make sure you're not using any epithets of any kind. Facts over feelings. What that means is you want to make sure that if you disagree with someone during the conversation, you attack the argument and not the person. Once again, attack the argument, not the person. Facts over feelings. And of course, no fundamentally false statements, right? No fundamentally false statements. You can have an opinion, but you can't make a claim that is patently false. So, for example, you could state that LeBron James is the better basketball player than Michael Jordan. You can say he's the GOAT, but you cannot make a fundamentally false statement by stating that Michael Jordan only won 2 championships, right? That would be a fundamentally false statement. And of course, last but not least, our mission here is neither to exonerate or vilify, but to challenge conventional wisdom or re-examine what has been previously accepted as fact. So with that said, family, tap in, be part of the conversation. We're discussing Megan Thee Stallion performing at Kamala Harris's rally. The question is, when will the political stunt stop? The link is in the chat. The link is in the description. Once again, you can use a pseudonym. You do not have to cam up. Tap in, be part of the conversation. And then, of course, what I want to know is, when will the political stunts stop? How do the political stunts, how do we organize to prevent these political stunts from, of course, continue to take place? As I stated before, when the powerful sister Monica Thomas was on the platform about a year ago, she talked about these political stunts. But as whether it's no voting, no bucking, right? So we see these type of issues, unfortunately, but there's no policy attached to it, right? So we want to make sure that we're able to address these issues. Brother Sandman, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I had to join the Wi-Fi. Hopefully that'll solve all of the breaking up issues.
Okay. So Hazel, Sister Hazel, I need you to tap in and be part of the conversation. Tap in, be part of the conversation. The link is in the chat. The link's in the description. And then I'll be able to give you my opinion of someone of Kamala Harris, right? You mentioned something about conservative culture. Could you kind of define that for me?
Conservative culture, I would say, is a little bit reserved, uh, or very reserved. You know, a culture where women cover up their body. Men wear presentable clothing that doesn't bring too much attention to them.
You're still breaking up a little bit. Yeah, you're still breaking up a little bit.
Oh yeah, am I still breaking
Yeah,
up now?
still breaking up.
Dang, I don't know. I guess it's not. I guess it's not my night tonight.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really, really funky. Almost sounds like you're speaking through a music box. So we gotta square that away. We gotta square that away. But of course, Hazel, still want you to tap in, be part of the conversation. Um, Les Matthews, you as well, want you to tap in, be part of the convo. You talked about Black people staying on code. What does that mean? What does that look like? Need you to tap in, be part of the convo. You're watching Lumumba Speaks and Bequaline Network right here on YouTube. If you're watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, as well as the notification bell. You're watching Lumumba Speaks and Bequaline Network here on YouTube. And of course, the conversation is Megan Thee Stallion performs at Kamala Harris Rally. When will the political stunt stop, family? That is the question for this evening. When will the political stunts stop? So, want to get you all's answer regarding how do we combat this issue, how do we address this issue, and how do we shift the conversation to policy and away from entertainment. Okay, shifting the conversation to focus on policy, moving it away from, of course, entertainment. That is the question that we have. Also, when people try to make the issue regarding the Republican and Democratic divide, we do know that both political parties are white supremacist organizations. Both political parties have promoted and provided policies that were detrimental to African people globally. Right? If we're talking about supporting apartheid in South Africa, Jim Crow in America, supporting the end of Reconstruction, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So this is something, of course, to consider when we talk about um, voting, particularly in presidential elections, and why it needs to be policy centered rather than, of course, um, party centered. And I think I would do a show on that as well. I know I posted a couple videos, even on my platform, Lumumba Speaks, regarding the history of the Republican Party and the history, of course, of the Democratic Party. We find that both organizations, both parties, have engaged in a illicit and voluminous amount of anti-Black racism and policies. So that, of course, is something to, of course, be cognizant of when we're talking about um, voting and why we should vote based on what is best interest of the community rather than what is in the best interest of a political party aligning to a political party. So Hazel, I'm going to need you to cam up and queue just to make sure that you're not trolling. So if you could cam up and queue, and then LMA, I need you to cam up and queue as well. So cam up and queue, and then I will bring you into the live. Just want to make sure no one's trolling. So if you could cam up and queue, then I will bring you into the live. Got you, Hazel. LMA, got you. All right, gonna bring you all in. What's the word?
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing quite all right.
How do you pronounce my name? My name is Hazelfine, like Josephine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good.
I was curious. You know why I brought it up? Because I remember when she ran the first time and she was on the Breakfast Club and she made a statement that she's not gonna do anything for black people only, is what she stated. So
Yes.
I didn't care for her. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
Okay. Now, did she change from that? I mean,
Not
all of
that
a
I
sudden
know
she's
of.
a sister girl?
Not that I know of.
Huh?
I said not that I know of. You said did she change for that? I said not that I know of.
Well, exactly. And everybody keeps saying she's a sister girl because she went to Howard. No, just because she went to Howard, you have a lot of different groups that go to Howard or any of
Or
our
go to HBCU.
HBCU.
Yes, that's very true.
Exactly.
And some
Exactly.
HBCUs are populated by predominantly non-black students. Right?
Exactly. Because
Bluefield
they
University
can
in
get
West
paid.
Virginia is a great example of that.
Exactly. Exactly. And I still say she's basically, to me, um, she's not admitting that she's black. She's letting us say it. You understand?
And,
She's not
and,
saying it.
and I would say my concern isn't with her race or ethnic background. My concern is with the policies that her policy.
Right. Right.
Right. And
But-
the issue is
right.
we haven't heard anything about policy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Everybody's
And
saying
nobody's paying
sister girl.
attention.
Right.
Nobody's paying attention. I said, did y'all look at her policy? Because you don't hear California rooting for her. Matter of fact, they talking ill against her and what she has done in California towards our black men and even women. There's a
Yes,
lot of things
and
they need to look at the politics.
when she was attorney general, when she was a district attorney, and how
Exactly. Prosecutor. Yep. Yep. And when Judge Brown was talking about her, I read the comments and people were saying, well, he don't know what he's talking about. He's old fart. He's just now. He just wanna. I was like, that's so ignorant. Why do you think he doesn't know anything? He was a lawyer. He was a judge. I mean, don't you think he know politics?
well, and I understand that. The only issue I have with Judge Joe Brown is that he tends to take very extreme contrarian type of positions on social issues. So it's like, I know you're a judge, you're well educated, but I hear you, but do you have some information to substantiate this? So I kind of go with things that we know on the record. What we do know on record is that when she was district attorney, people went to jail for nonviolent drug offenses. We're talking about low-level drug offenses. I'm sorry, they didn't go to jail, they went to prison, right? We do know that when she was attorney general, there was a situation where someone was wrongfully incarcerated, but there were several people who were wrongfully incarcerated. The Supreme Court ordered their release. She prevented those inmates from being released, and she stated that her reason why was because they were providing cheap labor for
the state. Hello? Oh God, we went. I'm on the show.
prosecutor, right?
Right.
And I get all that. That's your job. You do this, so on and so forth. But what I find problematic, and I would even argue, is a perversion of jurisprudence, is when you know someone is innocent. I know you're with me here. You know someone is innocent. You know someone is innocent. You know someone is innocent, and you say we're going to keep them in jail because what they provided cheap labor. So let's pivot real quick to Trump. He has a history of anti-black racism. He has a history of criminalizing black men as well, etc. etc. We could talk about the Central Park Five, for example. Took out the full pay.
Right, I remember that.
We could talk about he's advocating that he should get the black vote because what? Illegal immigrants are stealing black jobs. However, he has been employing illegal immigrants throughout his various companies for over 3 decades. Right? This was in the Washington Post, which is a reputable source, right? We also know this was in April of this year, Time Magazine, where Donald Trump says the only real racism in America is anti-white racism, particularly racism against white men. This is Time Magazine. I'm actually share the articles. I got it right in front of me. So the people, this is a hyperbole. So I think we're really stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yes, right? We are.
I'm going to shut up. So exclusive. Trump says anti-white feeling is a problem in the U.S. This is dated April 13th. And he argues that Trump tells time in an interview when asked about his supporters who believe anti-white racism now represents a greater problem than anti-black racism. They're against Catholics. They're against a lot of different people. I think there's a definite anti-white feeling in this country that can't be allowed either. I don't think it would be very tough thing to address. And education is being very unfair. He's talking about, of course, Black history, things of that nature. And he goes on to say, this was over the phone, he said the second term, Trump has vowed to levy taxes and fines against schools he sees as too woke. He also signaled support for dozens of bills targeting diversity, equity, and inclusion policies in higher education. Trump and large parts of the Republican base have also attacked critical race theory, an academic framework that explores how aspects of society perpetuate systemic racism and work to erase such coursework from curricula around the country. Right? So we see what he's about. It's very clear. He's running on a white.
At least we can see him. Right. We can see him. Yes. Her, we don't see at all. We don't hear nothing. And that scares me because we don't know her policies.
Come on now. And so here's the real issue, sister. Or I'm gonna call you mother.
Mother.
Okay.
I'm a mama. I'm a mama grandmother. That's
we don't know her policies. Like I said, we know what we're gonna get with Trump. We're gonna get anti-black racism. We're gonna get white nationalism.
Right.
What will her policies be?
And that scares me because she looks towards the East Indian to me. Because everybody's saying, well, she's black. No. Her father is Jamaican. That does not mean he's black. Because Jamaican.
Her father is Afro-Jamaican. Her father is Afro-Jamaican.
He claims he's not.
Well, but in her book, she states that she's Indian. I have the book and I read it. But her father is her father is Afro-Jamaican. He is.
And he's not claiming that. He said Irish Indian.
So no, but he probably said that about her, but she in her book claims to be of Indian extract. LMA, what's the word, brother?
How's it going, man? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, sounds good, man. Hey, man, to answer your question, great topic, by the way.
Thank you.
I think that these stunts are going to continue as long as black people keep falling for them. Why change up the game plan? If I can hire, Megan Thee Stallion, whomever, give her $1 million, and she's going to guarantee me that, that 18 to 25 ratchet vote. Why should I change my, why should I change my policy?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because there's a certain segment of our, of any population that's going to be, that type of shit's going to appeal to. You know what I'm saying? Just like Trump bringing out Hulk Hogan, Trump bringing out, there's going to be a certain segment that's just they don't care about policies,
anything like that.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm stepping away from it. One moment.
No problem. I think that's a great point. So yeah, he used entertainers as well. I think Kid Rock was someone else. So we see this push too.
But do you ever wonder why? Because they think on their mind that black people look up to celebrities and rappers and so forth and so forth.
And that's something
we do have that problem.
Right. Absolutely. That there's an appeal through entertainment. I would argue that this infers that black people aren't politically mature, so we just try out a rapper or entertainer, and then we'll get their vote. Right. And this happened 20 years ago when I was a young man. I was 20 years old 20 years ago. Don't tell nobody, right? And Diddy came out with this big old thing, vote or die, vote or die, vote or die. There was no conversation about policy, but I remember this, but it was just vote or die. And there were even political cartoons where they were showing Diddy with other black celebrities, literally attempting to assault people who allegedly didn't vote, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
That was art imitating life.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So these are the issues. Go right ahead, LMA. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, that was art imitating life with him. But like I said, I think that
right, you're right.
yeah. So if we knew then what we knew now, but I like I said, even Malcolm X tried to warn us about the celebrities.
Yes.
But I think that even when it comes to, but I also think that this is a good way of them deflecting, because if I could just trot out some some celebrities, then I don't have to deal with the real policies. I don't have to deal with the school to prison pipeline. I don't have to deal with reparations. I don't have to deal with police accountability. I don't have to deal with all of these things. And what that's not what I was going to say. It's almost like, the guilt trip that, not our sister Hazeline. Say your name again. I don't want to mispronounce it.
Hazelfine.
Hazelfine. Not you. We're not. But there's some some of our aunties and grandmas and grandmas. You send us down that guilt trip. Oh, your ancestors died, so you to vote, so you should go out there and vote. No, our ancestors died for us to vote for policy, not for us to just go throwing our vote behind any old person. We need to vote for policies, and I think that I'm hoping that that is beginning to sink in, because I was thinking to myself, recently, you trotted out Barack Obama and you got us on the black man vote, right? And I remember thinking to myself, you can only play that trick once. And then you had Biden, you got Trump in there. Now you got Biden, and then people voted for Biden out of fear because they wanted to get Trump out of there. But that trick's only going to work once. So now you're going to try to sister girl act.
I could. Part of it was, to be quite honest, Trump's administration was a dumpster fire. People were being hired,
it really was,
quitting or firing in a week's time. So when you have a high turnover rate in any administration or company, that's an issue. The other issue was numerous members of his cohort, his acolytes, were being indicted and sent to federal prison. Right? So that means this man was running with criminals.
Yeah, I mean, but I believe that what the nail in Donald Trump's casket was COVID. Was the cough. If he didn't have that cough, I think he would still be president. I think that the cough is what really.
You talking about COVID?
Yeah, I don't know how you are about euphemisms on your channel. I don't know if you want to get caught up in that algorithm, but I just.
I see what he's saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what he's saying.
Yeah, if he didn't have that, I think he would have. He would probably still be president. But I think that it's almost like with Barack Obama. There was a part of Barack Obama was this new black guy, and we had the chance of having a black president. But it's almost, you got to look at Bush. Bush's presidency was, again, not as bad as Trump, but it was, like I said, you had us in two disastrous wars. You had a huge recession. You had the 2008 recession right at the tail end of this. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, we were just like, listen, anybody but Bush. I mean, I think that was a lot of Barack Obama's appeal, especially to white that white middle America, just like anybody but Bush. Like I said, you got you got the two wars and all this other stuff. So I'm thinking that but now you had Biden and Kamala, which no one really wanted them to begin with. But I said Biden, and that's the thing. I don't know if Biden actually thought that people liked him, but you were just the not Trump vote. That's just what you were.
That's all exactly. That's all he was.
Yeah, and I wish that any political, I'm hoping that people will begin to lose faith in the Democratic Party, and at least instead of becoming more Democrat or just throwing them away, but if Black people can just become a
more
stronger, more
politically.
I mean more politically astute, but we actually vote as a block and we actually have an agenda, and that block can be can go wherever. So instead of it being just us voting for 90% for the Democrats year after year after year, we come up with an agenda, and we pass out that agenda to every candidate, and they say, how much of this agenda can you do? And if one person can do 16 and the other person can do 18, then we're just going to all move as one block to that. You know what I'm saying? And then that way we can actually leverage our, because like I said, we're a captured vote. So we don't have to do what you say if all I have to do is throw you a Megan Thee Stallion concert and I get, what I'm saying?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? If you're not going to, if you're not going to operate in that way, so I want us to become more politically astute. Part of me wants Kamala to become president because I kind of know it's going to be a dumpster fire. So that will be hopefully that'll be the last nail in this coffin of Black people just voting for Democrats because they're Democrats and we're Black, and then we're just supposed to go together like PB&J. Like, no, I want that's part of me what I want to happen. There's another part of me just like, maybe if Trump gets in there, he can shake things up and like maybe maybe his second it'll be such a dumpster fire that, he'll get some stuff done. It's gonna hurt, it's gonna sting, but coming out the back end, we can actually, because right now we need to start worrying about, 2028. Like
So,
that. That's
so,
what.
so let me say this, and I don't want Trump to win, but I'm not saying
that I want to.
I'm not saying I'm voting for Kamala, but part of the reason is he's promoting white nationalism. The second issue, I work in higher ed. He's seeking to eliminate DEI at public institutions around the country. So Black culture centers, which is my area of expertise, out the door. I wouldn't have a job. Right? We talk about banning books, particularly African American history, something I actually teach. I will be out of a job. Right? And real quick, in terms of, and when you are at the doctoral level, because I'm going to be defending my dissertation in 2 weeks, your knowledge base is very specific, right? So it's not broad, it's specific. It's your research is on one particular type of issue or topic. What would I do?
Yeah. And I'm not looking forward to it too, but it's almost like you watched that movie, the last Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
And the whole purpose was, I'm going to give you what you want because on the back end, I'm going to get it back from you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that one of the things I was thinking about pushing, and I don't know how true. I mean, I'm not a political analyst, but I was thinking to myself like, what if we voted for Trump, but then voted Democrat down ballot? So basically, you have a Republican president, but then a completely, you know what I'm saying, and let them fight. Because the way I see it, Democrats really don't Democrat until there's a Republican office. You know what I'm saying? Like even with Barack, I don't
that may be the case, but I think this Trump has even stated on record that he is willing to incarcerate journalists that report on him in a manner that he finds unfavorable.
But that's what I'm saying.
Well, he even stated on record that if you vote for me, you won't have to vote again. And he's talked about on several occasions that his goal is to be president for life.
And that's and like
the Constitution.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But like I said, this might be one of the things where just like we have to give him what he asked for, because if he gets in there, because like I said, I don't think that he has the support that he thinks he does, and I think if he tries it, he is, the establishment.
But here's the thing, and I don't mean to. He doesn't.
I'm trying to get one set of elites to pit them against the other set of elites, and then let them go at it.
But here's the thing: they don't fight with each other, and that's the reality. If I did a show on, and I even wrote an article on American society how it really works, that the reality is this is wrestling. These people are friends behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, they are. They are.
Both parties are white supremacist organizations. The issue I have, because I don't go native, what's going on? The issue I have in particular with Trump is that he's running a platform that is unapologetically rooted in white nationalism. Unapologetically. So when you're talking about, this is someone who's and he doesn't need support of Congress because he has shown that he would simply write executive orders into place. And the only way an executive order could be repealed is if what the Supreme Court it states that it's unconstitutional, and we already seen this. The Supreme Court is lockstep with him because the majority of those on the Supreme Court have been appointed by him. So this isn't a situation, in my opinion, where we can play these type of games, particularly for me, because I wouldn't have a career anymore.
Yeah, and I definitely. Yeah, I'm not saying that I want to, but I was just kind of spitballing ideas. And, personally, like I said, but even if we put Kamala in there, on his face, it may seem better. And like I said, there's another part of me that wants to put her in there so she can, fuck it up. She can muck it up. And now, hopefully it'll get rid of that last little vestige of, we got to vote for the Democrat. Because she's going to, because she can get up in there and she can do some harm. Because like I said, she was, the state attorney, the attorney general of California. And she has some, if she brings that truancy stuff, she brings the, and what was the other thing? I know she was accused of, holding prisoners past their excuse me, holding prisoners past their release date, and withholding. You know what I'm saying? So there's obviously she has a pro cop stance. So that that's not going to do us any harm.
But so does Trump.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm getting at.
No,
Like, I don't want to get into the the idea that one's better than the other. I mean, I think that you can make the argument that Kamala will probably be because it's business as usual, which is bad, but Trump is like a known quantity, and so it's like dealing with the drug, the drug dealers that Yeah, exactly. You're dealing with a snake, and with one viper and then a python. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. They're both going to mess you up, but like one you might be able to deal with better than the other. So America's screwed no matter what.
I look at is, of course, we had 4 years of Trump, and Trump didn't provide any policies that were beneficial to the Black community.
Yeah, but
did he sign any EOs against Blacks?
Well, I'm sorry.
Did he sign any executive orders against Blacks?
Well, one thing that I know he did is that he increased drone attacks against African people on the African continent.
Okay,
that is something that did take place during his administration.
Okay, because I didn't hear any. That's why I was asking.
I did a show on that.
Okay.
But see, my fear is that if Kamala gets in there, it's going to be like how the media will, showcase every negative thing Trump does, when the Republicans in office, but then when the Democrats in office, you don't hear about all of the stuff that, almost like with Obama. Obama, had that drone strike against that 16-year-old. You know what I'm talking about, right? He did that drone strike against that 16-year-old. Do you remember that?
Well, the media never discusses American military aggression.
They did. They brought it up, and it was like a little, boo-hoo about it. But it was just like, maybe a news cycle, and then that was it. And it was just like, what? If had Trump did this, it would have been wall-to-wall coverage that he assassinated a 16-year-old American citizen overseas. It would have been wall-to-wall coverage.
These things did happen during the Trump administration. Like I said, Trump increased military aggression on the African continent against African people. The issue is that America has, irrespective of which political party runs the Oval Office, America has an imperialistic military foreign policy. That's what
that's the truth.
This is speaking to someone who did 6 years in the military, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I did 10 years in the military, so
the foreign policy of America is white supremacy. The foreign policy of America is what? Colonialism. The foreign policy of America is economic gunboat diplomacy. That's just what it is. It doesn't matter who's in office. I'll give you an example. When Obama was in office, 2011, this is why I didn't vote for him in 2012. Obama had a national address September 2011 when he stated that they were sending troops into Libya because Muammar Gaddafi was attacking his own citizens. That was a complete lie. A complete lie.
I remember that. Yep.
So once again, it doesn't matter who's in office. America's foreign policy is imperialism.
Jack up.
Because the individuals who, and I'm not saying Gaddafi was a saint. We know he did things that were truly problematic. But what took place was Gaddafi was seeking to unify Africa under one currency, the gold dinar. And then what did they do? They actually hired and trained individuals, the CIA did, that took issue with Gaddafi's administration. Because when you're president in any country, you're never going to have a 100% approval rate. That's just reality.
Right.
And said, we're going to train you and give you the supplies to overthrow his government. Right. So then when he fights back and say, oh, he's killing his own citizens. If we did that, we would consider domestic terrorists. Right. And then this was in the New York Times. I remember this, even though it was 13 years ago. Or 12 years ago, the New York Times reported that the individuals that fought for the freedom and liberation of Libya, afterwards, they were selling Black Africans and open slave markets.
Open the slave markets,
And then guess what happened? The Western nations in the U.S. started coming in asking about the oil. They didn't give a damn about humanitarian issues.
Yep.
So my thing is, like I said, if Kamala can do that too. So the thing about it is, do you want a president who's going to do that type of stuff and the media is willing to call them out on it? Or, I mean, on just some of the stuff. Because
the media would never call a president out on engaging in political foreign policy that benefits Wall Street. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
That's not going to happen.
No,
because remember, the concept. I was in the military, and my dumb ass, when I was 17 years old, said, "I swear to defend this country and this Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and they even mentioned America in her interest, and the interest are financial." I can recall the second Iraq War. Right, I'm working in headquarters. My supervisor was a major. There's a situation that happens, and we get on TV and lie and say something completely different from what actually transpired. And you can say, listen, for the safety of soldiers, you may have to, fuzz it. But what truly happened, the beginning of the second Iraq War, Operation Iraqi Enduring Freedom, which I have a medal for. What happened was they sent out 2 Navy SEAL teams, and their job was to secure the oil rigs on the coast. That was their mission.
That's right.
Mission.
Yeah,
that's right.
Hey, quick question though.
Humanitarian issues. In fact, the American government for the past 20 plus years, Bush administration, Obama administration, Trump administration has been supporting a violent terrorist regime in East Africa called the Lord's Resistance Army. And the reason why they won't call them terrorists is because they're Christians. So since they're Christians, we won't call them terrorists, even though they are engaging in terrorism against African people. These people are hypocrites, irrespective of what political party is in office.
That's right.
Hey, quick question. What branch were you in?
I was in the Navy and then the Army.
Oh, you did both? Oh, how you do?
I've told this story a couple times on the platform. So I went into the Navy when I was 17. I was immature. I got kicked out after 10 months. And then 2 years later, I re-enlisted in the Army.
Okay, I'm about to say, because I did the Navy. I was in the Navy for a bit.
So these are the issues, right? Yeah. So these are the type of things that we need to be cognizant of. And so there's even a situation in Togo where the American government has been supporting a Togolese dictatorship. The same thing in Equatorial Guinea. Where the Obama administration, the Bush administration. So we find that irrespective of which political party is in office, America's foreign policy doesn't change. Right?
But you know what?
Go ahead.
If they choose her, they want to be able to utilize her to go into Africa. You know this, right? Because
they're not the Obama.
Right, exactly. And they have to do with Trump. Right. They're gonna encourage her to go over there and push whatever ideology they have. Like what's going on here. They want to go over there.
But this is what I can say, because I was just in Ghana earlier this month. Shout out to Ghana. It don't matter it don't matter if you look like us. If you come over there pushing some nonsense, that they won't accept it.
Yeah, now my husband's from Ghana, but I've been there also a couple times, yes. So,
you go over there talking that nonsense. I'm like, get up out of here. Get up out of here.
Well, definitely with Black Americans.
Long lost cousin or not.
That's right. Black Americans, yes, they do, but they don't do to any other nationality, and I think that's sad.
What's that?
I think, well, Ghana is allowing all these Chinese people and everything to come into their land and take things. I remember when I was there.
That's on the president. And when I was over there, one of the sisters was telling me, she said, we've only had 2 good presidents in our history. And I said, who? She said, Nkrumah and Adam Mills. Yeah. Everyone else, she said, they've been on some BS.
Garbage,
so,
right.
One of the issues is we don't want to blame the people for what the presidential administration
No, I'm blaming the president. I'm blaming the president.
More than I have. Like Ghana, the president of Ghana promotes Pan-Africanism as a way to support
bringing more money and stuff. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right. So you go to the Nkrumah Memorial, all this type of Pan-African, etc. When the Ghanaian brothers and sisters had a protest due to George Floyd, he had the people arrested.
See, I don't like that president. I already know. I listen to the parliament and everything.
We have brothers and sisters in Ghana protesting in solidarity with Black Lives Matter due to the death of George Floyd, and the president of Ghana had the people arrested.
Oh, he's only about the money, baby. He's only about getting his family in the place. When he leaves office, he'll have his family in place to keep the money going in their family.
He hired more ministers in his administration than any other administration in the history in Ghanaian history. So once again, these are a lot of issues, but I don't want to put that on the people right, rather than the presidential administration.
No, I know it's the president. No. I know it's the president. That I know. Because I listen to my friends and my husband, all of them talk about it. So I know it's the president. And when I was there, I observed them talking about homosexuality in the parliament. And they were totally against it. And then when she came, she was trying to encourage them to introduce it into their country.
Yes, because there was actually a situation in Ghana, even in Kenya, where I think Obama, when he was in office, he was talking about promoting LGBTQ rights. And just very quickly, we don't advocate for people who are LGBTQ to be killed, discriminated against, criminalized, or anything like that. And the brothers on the continent pushed back and said, "Well, don't talk to us about human rights until you start treating African Americans right."
Exactly.
They said this. That was their retort to Obama and Kamala Harris. But don't talk to us about human rights until you ensure the rights of African Americans. So
that's
we
right.
know that brothers on the continent, and I can say this because I've been there. They are keenly aware of the issues we face, and many that are politically astute are in solidarity with us.
They are. Yeah. I talk to them all the time, and talk to my husband, so they're very aware. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You're correct. I just don't know her politics. She scares me. She lies a lot.
Do you think that's done purposely? That it seems to be very nebulous in terms of what her political views and I mean, what are we? What is this about to be August? So we're 3 months away from the election, and it doesn't seem that we know anything about what her political.
No, we don't.
But she's running on the "I'm not Trump." She's just running on the "I'm not Trump" ticket. That's it.
I don't think that's going to be successful.
Because they feel. Like I said,
we saw that didn't work for Hillary.
Yeah. So like he said, if she's running, she's going to run on that. That's going to fail her. I'm telling you.
I think with Hillary, I just think that a lot of the people who, because there's a lot of people who just stayed home, and I think a lot of people were just kind of thinking that I'm not going to vote for her, but they're expecting that their friends are going to vote for her, and I don't think that they were realizing that so many people were just going to not vote for her, and so that's what it kind of caught them off guard. So I still think that Trump, just his presence is enough to just be I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is just not be Trump, call the orange man bad, and then that's all I need to do. And I think it's not going to work for him this time because, like I said, you can only play that trick once. And, we've had 4 years of, particularly with Black people. I mean, I want to say that there's a level of, maybe it's not the political astuteness that I would like. It's not the angle that I would like, but I think there is a growing dissatisfaction with the Democrats amongst Black people, Black Americans, that I think may have a presence in this election. I think there's a lot of people, especially like with the stuff going on over there in the Middle East, with the how can I put it? The guys with the small hats, you know what I'm saying? So I think that put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, because you got to realize that, and just that angle alone is enough to really turn a lot of people off, especially like a lot of younger liberals and progressives and stuff like that, because you got a foreign power, pushing their weight around to the point where they're making a law that American citizens cannot criticize a foreign country.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so that happened under the Democrats one. So I think, especially like I said in Michigan, where especially like a lot of Arab and Muslim Americans, I can't see, it wasn't their small bunch, but I do think that they have they have allies and people who don't, who may not, it may not be my people being over there being bombed, but I don't like the way this looks, and I don't like the fact that we're involved. And if I
could, once again,
go ahead.
Irrespective of which political party runs the Oval Office,
yep,
America has always been a lockstep in supporting Israel since Israel's creation as a settler colonial colony in the late 1940s. So this isn't just a Democratic issue. Both political parties are in support of Israel.
Are involved with that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now here's another issue we're talking about Trump. Trump stated this back in February that because he was a convicted felon, that he could now relate to African Americans.
Yeah, that was Yeah, I remember he said that. Yeah, and there was some dummies.
That's what I'm saying. You can't get my vote talking like that.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, like I said, I honestly, I don't plan on voting for either one of them. I'm just going to find a third party. Hopefully, there's a third party in my state that I can just go to.
I think black people, I think as a whole, we need to be independent.
I agree.
We should not be aligned with any political party.
That's right.
I mean, I think we should be independent, but vote as a block, though. Like, if we got to vote Democrat one year and then Republican the next one, and then Green Party this one, and then
What state are you in, LMA?
Virginia.
Okay, you used to dribble down the VA. Okay,
Yeah.
What about you, Hazel?
I'm in South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay, when you talking about the Palmetto State, let's get it. I know a little bit. Okay, Gullah Gucci out here. Let's get it. So, wait. Matter of fact, you in Virginia, brother. We talking about the Great Dismal Swamp with the Maroons. I know what we. You know, I know the history. Very quickly, in the 90s in Ohio, a large segment of African Americans voted for the Republican gubernatorial candidate, George Warnovich.
Is it Wilder?
George Warnovich. And the reason why was because his policies were geared towards the African American community.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he became mayor of Cleveland, even though Cleveland is a majority black city. Why? Because he had policies that were beneficial to the black community. He became governor, he became senator, and he carried a large amount of the black vote because of his policies.
And see, that's the word, policies.
But that's the thing. Democrats don't want to start that as a habit. You know, they don't want to get into the habit of having to actually produce policies for black people.
But they do Republicans. We need to do Republicans.
Yeah, like I'm saying, anyone. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, no one wants to get into the habit of giving us anything, of making policy for our vote. They want because they already see it as a capture vote, and even from a standpoint of like just taking the emotion out of it.
Yes.
That's what I would do. Like if I had someone who was giving me some. Let's make it vulgar or whatever. You know what I'm saying? If I had a chick that was that's like saying why buy the cow when I can get the milk for free? If I got a chick that's giving it up, you know what I'm saying, without me doing anything, why should I? You know what I'm saying? Why should I start? I'm just using. Yeah, why should I marry her if I can get anything, everything I want out of her? You know what I'm saying? I'm just making it vulgar because that's the kind of relationship we have with them. Why should they do anything for us if we're going to give them our vote for nothing? Why should we? Why should we do anything?
But you know what? Exactly. I think the younger people may change that.
I'm hoping. We hope so. But I'm going to give an example of in Bush 2000 Bush election.
Right.
I was in high school. Bush went to black communities, particularly the black clergy in Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, swing states, and stated, listen, Democrats are in support of LGBTQ. They're in support of gay marriage. You should vote for me. And he told them that, because we're Christians, we got to stick together on this. They said, okay, what will we get out of it? He said, I will help you do X, Y, Z.
Right.
They voted. He got in. They never heard from him again. Sister Shy was the word, right? So we see this on both sides. And then he created the faith-based initiative, where we know the black church at one point was the vanguard of black protests, black rights.
Exactly. That's gone.
FBI, faith-based initiative, FBI. These cats sold out. They got money, and then before you know it, they weren't engaged in any type of political activism or political education anymore. So like I said, we see this on both sides. I wrote an article on Medium. I will put my Medium link in the chat. You can follow me on Medium for free. But I write articles about these things, right? To where we get, like I said, this is WWE Monday Night Raw. Neither political party gives a damn about black people. Neither political party provides us with tangibles. And here's the reality. Whenever there's been real or perceived black progress in America, it's been followed by periods of racial retrenchment. I'm going to give 3 examples and I'm going to shut up. SAT, tap in, be part of the conversation. So here's the issue. Following Reconstruction, we had the nadir of race relations, in which you had black codes, you had vagrancy laws, and anti-black racism was at its zenith, right? Post-civil rights black power movement, you had law and order, where the black incarcerated population ballooned to being what now we're the largest demographic of individuals behind bars, right? And then post Barack Obama's presidency, we had what? The rise of what? Extrajudicial violence and what?
Yeah, Tea Party.
What we had extrajudicial violence, we had white vigilantism, and we had what the rise and exponential of white nationalist hate groups. So we see that whenever there's real, even perceived, what black progress is followed by periods of racial retrenchment. That's why Trump was even elected. It's because I know from being in the military, you know this from being in the military, LMA, white people can't stand to see a black person in a position of authority and power.
Well, they never want to share. They don't want to share. White men don't share power with black people. They just don't.
So this is a reality. So that's why I said there's no way I could vote for this guy because I know what he's about. And he's making it very clear. Hey, I'm a criminal, so you can relate to me.
Ooh, we got
real racism on white men. This is what he says on the record. This is the guy you what? Oh yeah, we're gonna ban African American history. We're gonna ban all this stuff. That's supposed right? Really?
Well, it's time for us to take over that.
He came out with some gold shoes and said, "Okay, black community, I came out with some gold sneakers. So vote for me." And then they pushed the issue of immigrants when this man for 3 decades has been employing illegal immigrants. When this man for decades has been sued for what? Violating laws preventing black people to rent from him and his condos and luxury.
I remember that. I was born in New York. I was born in New York and I was raised in the Bronx up until 3 years.
BX, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hip hop. Okay, let's get it. I know that's right.
I just live here with my parents, though. I'm down here, and the things that I see here is interesting. They think the black people are like children; they have to explain everything, or they think you don't understand. It's interesting.
Yeah,
it really is.
So this is what we're up against. Like I said, sister, you're absolutely right. It's troubling that we're 3 months from the election, and we don't know what this woman's policies or platform is.
It is. It is. That's not good.
She was talking about what Trump said he's going to allocate $500 billion to the black community. I said, well, he said that in 2016. We had him for 4 years. He didn't do it. I said, secondly, he doesn't have the power to allocate that. Congress has to sign off on that. I said, so he's telling you something, but he's able to get away with it because you don't actually know how the political process works. So we got 3 branches: executive, legislative, judicial.
Now, does she have any kind of okay? How is she going to deal with international? Because that's another part. That's another thing. How is she going to deal with
this? She's in lockstep with. She's like every other politician. She's lockstep in supporting Israel. I do know that.
I mean, but even when it comes to like the foreign stuff, like presidents like her, they just go like whoever her donors are, they're gonna give her a slip of paper and say this, do this, sign this, and that's
exactly.
It. Like they don't, say she's the she's the empty suit. She's the the coconut woman. She's unburdened by what has been. Or what's that shit she used to say? What could be unburdened by what has been. Like that's what we're gonna get for the next 4 years if we get Kamala. Like she's just gonna sign off on whatever they put in front of her, and then that's just gonna be it. She's gonna hide behind the ski weed. Can't say nothing about me because I'm a black woman, and then we're just gonna. Like I said, we fell for it for Obama, and I wish that we would have gotten I just don't think enough of the older, they just didn't get the message. Like I don't understand how you can go through that, and then the lesson was not, hey, we need to make sure we add to our vote. Being black is not good enough. Being a black face in a high place is not good enough. We need to get past that and start off. So I wish that was the lesson after Obama, but we just.
And I'm a huge advocate of symbolism over substance. I mean, I'm sorry, substance over symbolism.
Right?
Yeah. So for me, I don't care what your racial ethnicity is. If you're providing policies that are beneficial to my community, and I always when I discussed this last time I went live was BET ran a special. BET, Black Entertainment Television, right? They ran a special on Michelle Obama, Forever Our First Lady. Tell me what Michelle Obama did while she was first lady to help use her platform and her position of power and prestige to help the black community.
I can't think of one. I bet she did like the
only thing I know is food thing. What was the food? Yeah.
The food was horrible. That's what they told me.
Yeah.
So here's the issue. there was a first lady in American presidential history that did use the power and platform of being a first lady to help advocate for the black community. Who was it?
Was it Eleanor Roosevelt?
Eleanor Roosevelt.
I was off.
So I don't care about the person's race or ethnicity. Right. I give a damn about what you do. I give a damn about your policies. TASA, once again, tap in, be part of the conversation. The link is in the description. I'm going to put the link in the chat right below your comment. Tap in, be part of the conversation. So you can't hit me with the old black thing. I don't give a damn. What are your policies? That's all I care about. All I care about is your policies. For example, in my doctoral program, there was a time where I had an advisor who was a person of color. This person was horrible.
Oh, God, don't tell me about it.
My advisor's a white guy who's 60-something years old. He's great.
That's how I was. Yeah, I understand that.
Damn. So but once again, we're talking about competence, right? Like all I care about is competence. Can you do your job? And are you going to work in a manner that's beneficial for my community? Because Dr. King taught us that politics is the business of who gets what, when, where, and how. We're talking about the distribution of resources, the allocating of resources. That's what it comes down
to.
I'm hoping that, like I said, if Kamala gets in there again and we go another 4 years and we just don't get anything from the second supposedly quote unquote black person, I'm hoping that will finally be the slap in the face that we need to say, hey, we need to start looking for policy because we got a black man in there. He did nothing but, he did everything for, people south of the border. He did everything for the LGBTQ. He did everything
you're talking about the Dream Act. You're talking about the Dream Act.
Yeah, the Dream Act, right. Yeah, so he did everything for them. What? Okay.
But those groups also gave money to his campaign.
So did black people.
So did we. Did. So did we. Yeah. But the thing about it is,
the Obama campaign set the record for most money donated by actual citizens rather than what? Corporate interest groups.
Yeah. It was $1 billion, wasn't it?
Yeah, about $1 billion. The record. So
but that's the thing. We were expecting him, he's gonna be the brother man hookup. He's one of us. So it's what is it? What is understood doesn't have to be explained. So we're thinking that, that we were just thinking, black folks were just thinking that, he gets in there, he's gonna turn this shit up. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gotta say nothing. We got our guy in there. He's gonna do what it do, but no. Like that was
here's to be honest, the first job I ever had in higher ed, I was a academic support specialist, and my supervisor was a sister. She was a Pan-African, so she gave me a book to read and said, "You need to read this book. This is your first assignment." And the book was titled, and I probably got it over here somewhere. It was titled "Weapons of Mass Instruction" by John, a 5-time teacher of the year in New York State, and he talked about how political candidates are pre-selected.
They are
elected to root out radicalism, and he gives the example of Shirley Chisholm, the first black person.
Yeah, I remember her.
Party candidate presidential nomination, and the reason why she ran on the campaign of Unbossed was because the powers that be refused to fund her campaign because she wasn't willing to pay to play. She wasn't willing to be bought out. And so they said, well, we won't fund your campaign. So the reality is these individuals have already been approved by the oligarchs and plutocrats. That is a reality. So then what we have to say is there are certain things that you all are already going to put in line, particularly in terms of America's foreign policy and even domestic policy. But hey, you got to give us something.
That's right. Yeah. I agree. We can't even get the anti-lynching law passed. It burns my grits that Kamala, and it is even with Trump, because when black people have these conversations with these politicians, they aren't fact checking these people, or they go on these entertainment sites like the Breakfast Club where they're saying things that are just absolutely false. And because these are entertainers, they aren't educated enough to even say, "Hold on, that's not true. Hold on, that's not." So it's like, what defense service is going on here? So now, how do you feel about Roland Martin?
We treat politicians like they're celebrities or something.
I told you that. I said that's how they see us. That's who we look up to. It's celebrities and rappers and everything else. They think that's who is our leaders, basically. Because if you never notice, they always grab hold of them to present things, to get their point across. Haven't you noticed that? Even stripping, all kind of things they did. Disrespectful. Remember strip to the pole?
Yeah, stroll to the polls. Yeah.
Did you see the what's it called, the BA, what's it called, BA something, Jay, was it the journalist panel they had earlier today? Did you see that?
I did not
No, I
see it.
didn't.
Yeah.
We're about the National Association of Black Journalists. I know
Black journalists. Yeah. I couldn't think of the acronym. Yeah, they had that today, and yeah, I wasn't impressed. So I'm just like, damn. So we had a room.
What took place?
It was, well, this is kind of embarrassing. I want to say they started late. I think they were having trouble with their audio visual, the audio equipment. Because even during the thing, they were kind of complaining that, hey, I can't, because I guess they were, even though they were on stage together, they were listening through earpieces, like, through the microphone or whatever. So even though they were kind of on the stage together, if, Trump on the far, well, the woman on the far end of Trump couldn't, the microphone was going in and out. So they complained about that. So they started late. So I think they had him for an hour, but they were only able to like really question him for about 30 minutes. And then right when they was about to get into the what's it called? The 25 what's the 2025 plan? What's that thing called?
Project 2025.
Yeah, Project 2025, yeah. So right when they were about to get into that, that's when they pretty much said, like, yeah, our time is up. You had us for an hour and you burnt 30 minutes of it. So, but yeah, I mean they drilled him on, they didn't really drill him on policy. They tried to drill him on stuff that he said and then try to connect that to some policies, but it really wasn't a policy discussion. It was you said this about this about this candidate, this about this person. They're all black. Why should black people vote for you? And the thing about it was it didn't really, and like I said, I'm not a journalist. It didn't pin them down. Like they did a horrible job. Even if you want to pin them down, there's a balance between getting like, okay, what are your policies for black people? Like, what is your ideas on this policy, that policy? We want this, we want that. They didn't really do that. They just kind of held his feet to the fire, which is fine. But things that he said, but this isn't the time for. It's not the time for that. But it's like, listen, man, you got get something out of him. Get throw some policies at him, saying, okay, we want anti-black crime bill. We want reparations. We want, this many billions of dollars going towards predominantly black school, elementary schools. We want this, saying, just do something, you know what I'm saying? And they just didn't do that. They were focusing on stuff that he said that was, uncouth. Yeah, that was offensive. Which he should be, someone should, bring that up to him, he should be brought to account for that. But at some point, it's just like, okay, this guy's going to be the president. We need to get some policies in front of him and say, are you going to support this? Because, this is the point. And like I said, this is the point where, even if we don't like him, this could be something where we can like put that bug in his ear and let him know that, hey, like to your point, okay, you may not like DEI, but there's still value in African American studies. Will you promise not to touch African American studies? And, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. They could have did any of that. You know what I'm saying? They just they did bring up the immunity, but the police immunity, but they brought it up in such a way that they couldn't pin them down because they brought up the Sonia Massey thing, the Sonia Massey murder. And, they said like, okay, should a cop like him get immunity? And he sidestepped it so sweet. He was just like, I don't know all of the details. And it was just like, boom, that was it. You know what I'm saying? You can't pin them down on that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so one thing I will say that like what
you should have been the person asking the questions.
Yeah, I mean, there's any number of black who are, you know what I'm saying? Because like these are people, the three black ladies, they were all establishment journalists. I'm throwing air quotes on it. They're establishment journalists. So they're not going to ask the tough, you know what I'm saying? They're going to keep, it's, like I said, it's the WWE. Like, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to swing on you, but it's going to look like I hit you, but you know what I'm saying? It's going to feel like a little, like a little pat against your face. It's not going to be a real fist. I'm going to pull the punch. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it was it's going to get your base. It's going to rattle your base. It's going to rattle my base, but it's not really going to get to the heart of anything. Like I can't, I didn't do a good job pinning you down on anything. So to me, it was kind of embarrassing because it you were already late, so you burnt 30 minutes, so you really couldn't drill him like that. You came out and like I said, you want to hold him to account, but you came out aggressive, so he came out aggressive, and he is way more charismatic, and that's the one thing I will say. When even the opening, one of the journalists, kind of was, she started off. It was kind of spicy the way she started off, and that's fine. But Trump, man, he flipped that thing on her so quick, and it was just like, damn, like that was just from the jump. Because she asked him about, like, you mentioned about basically some stuff he said about basically saying that, you spread the rumor that Barack Obama wasn't born in America, and a couple other people. He told this black senator this, that, and the other. And he's saying, so if you said these type of things, why should the black people support you? And then he came out with, you're very rude. And, not only you rude, you started 30 minutes late, and now blah, blah, blah. I mean, hit him with that 30 minutes late. I mean, from the jump, you know what I'm saying? Now he had to, and that was his, no pun intended, that was his trump card, because he can always just, he went back to that fact maybe like one other time in the debate. Anytime he got pinned down, he just spun it on.
What you say is, I met with them when they didn't ask me for anything.
Right.
Exactly.
Not my problem.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
that we tend to find with that is, so there's a pastor from Detroit. He's the lead pastor of the 180 church, Lorenzo Sewell. He talks about when Trump came to the hood to see us, there was no discussion of policy. He acted like a child that was just happy that his father acknowledged his existence.
Yeah.
Right. So we see these once again, these stunts. He came to see me. Okay. And what did you get out of it? Right.
Did you find out what his policies? Yeah.
Right. I remember even when Trump was running in 2016, and Roland Martin had his show on TV1, and the pastor said we were meeting with Trump for several months now. You all just finding out in the media. He said, we're great. He says, what policy conversations have you all had, particularly around access to what? Loans. He said, and this has been a major issue in the black community. He said, well, as a pastor, I believe that God can give you the ability. That I said, no. Because because other ethnic groups, they actually have access to capital. They ain't dependent on God. They say the government, our government, I pay taxes, make it happen. So there's no policy conversations.
That's right.
So I would even go so far to say the goal isn't to have policy conversations, family. The goal is to make policy demands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Demands. Just like kind of growing up, your parents, they say, okay, we can have a conversation, and the entire conversation is them telling you what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. I thought we were going to talk about it, what we just did. Right.
But then when you become 30 years old, 40, now now the conversation going to go a little different.
Yeah. Right. So we have to make demands. So show up. Hey, we want this. We want that.
That's
Are you willing to right now on the record state that you're X, Y? And here's the problem. He doesn't answer the question. When I saw the debate between Trump and Biden, I don't know who the sister was who was the moderator, but she kept saying, you didn't answer the question. So, like Brother LMA said, when the black journalist, when he went on about, you're being rude, once again, nice pivot. I'm in media. We do it all the time. You didn't answer my question.
Yeah. And it was and like I said, and it was three of them. So that kind of happened a lot, like where, if the conversation was kind of like stalling, then the other one would kind of take, like if Trump was getting on, because like two of them were like, I would say hostile to Trump, and then one of them was like pro. It was that lady Faulkner on Fox News. She was one of them.
Okay.
So she was like the Trump's, kind of like buddy or whatever. Right. So like I said, if I kind of noticed that, like, if it got too spicy between Trump and the other two, she would kind of hop in and ask, okay, let's move on to this, that, you know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of that. It was kind of a shit show. Like, I mean, there was some points where just like, but there was no policy stuff. There was no, because even when they tried to get him on the on the police, not police, but the qualified immunity thing. Like I said, they didn't ask him in a sense of a policy question. They were asking him. They were kind of like drilling him as a like, you said this mean thing. Yeah, like, why should we support you? It was like, no, you need to, like, you know what I'm saying? Not asking them, basically saying, like, these are our problems. This is what we think a solution is. Do you support it? Or, you know what I'm saying? And they were just asking, like, you said this mean thing, and we want you to basically apologize or walk it back, or, and that's big. I mean, he backtracked it. I mean, basically he said that, you know, when he talked about, like, yeah, if there's a cop that's doing this job, but he makes a mistake, he shouldn't be prosecuted or whatever. And that's like, that's something that the average person who doesn't really give it much thought can be like, yeah, like, you know, sometimes cops may have, you know, that whole line, or cops only got a split second decision to make, you know, to make a major decision, blah, blah, blah. And they're under a lot of stress. So if they make a mistake, they shouldn't be held accountable. To the average person, you know, that may make sense. But if you are a journalist and then you have been studying this, you should know that that is coming, that you should, you know,
you should have
form
a
your
retort.
question.
You should have a retort, right?
Yeah, or you should form your question in such a way that if, you know, that response would be inappropriate, or it won't give you, you know what I'm saying, it'll put you in a certain light if you give that response. Like, you need to, you know, that's the one thing about debating, you need to know how to form your question, especially if you know what the answer is going to be, or the answer that you're trying to retort. You can form the question in such a way that, you know, okay, well, I can't go this way. Let me try something else. And then you corner them. But it was none of that. So it was just a lot of, you said this mean thing. Now I'm going to, like, make you eat your words. But I'm like, this is Trump. Trump eats his own words. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't give a damn.
He doesn't care. Right.
Yeah, he doesn't care. So I'm just
real
like,
quick, family. I put the link to, of course, my Medium account. So you can follow me on Medium there. Very quickly, Mr. Sandman stated the key question at the NABJ. They asked Trump, what do you have to offer Black Americans? Trump said he was there to stop immigrants from taking Black jobs. I think there's a number of things we can unpack for that. One, he was really speaking to low-level wage
jobs,
labor-intensive jobs, right?
Yeah.
So some would argue that that's where he sees Black people in society, because Black people have all types of jobs. They're doctors, lawyers, physicians, so on and so forth. Right, so that's one issue. The second issue, I'm going to actually bring this up here. I'm going to share my screen to really, you know, disabuse people of this belief that Trump gives a damn. Once again, this is an article I wrote, examining America and Donald Trump's history of using immigrant labor. America has been using illegal immigrant labor since World War II. Like, nevertheless, conservatives may be shocked to learn that America has a long history of courting immigrants to engage in low-wage, unskilled labor. For example, in 1942, at the height of World War II, an executive order called the Mexican Foreign Labor Program established the Bracero Program in 1942. This series of diplomatic accords between Mexico and the United States permitted millions, keyword millions, of Mexican men to work legally in the United States on short-term labor contracts. These agreements address a national agricultural labor shortage during World War II, and explicitly they redressed previous Depression-era deportations and repatriations that unjustly targeted Mexican Americans who were U.S. citizens. Upon its termination in 1964, the Bracero program had brought more than 4 million Braceros arms to work in U.S. agriculture and on railroads. Right? Presently, undocumented workers are still used today by America's elite to increase profits while reducing production costs. For example, in 2019, the Washington Post, and we know Washington Post is one of two, of course, newspapers of record, the other being New York Times, reported that the Trump organization employed a roving crew of Latin American employees to perform masonry and maintenance work at his winery and golf clubs nationwide. For almost 2 decades, the group comprised of workers who came into the U.S. illegally, the penalty for which Trump seemingly believes should be death. This is according to what he stated on campaign stops, according to 2 former crew members. Another one who still works for Trump told reporters Joshua Partlow and David A. Farenthold that remains the case today. President Trump does not want undocumented people in the country, said Jorge Castro, an Ecuadorian immigrant without legal status who left the company in the spring of 2018 after 9 years. For his properties, he still has them. He added, if you're a good worker, papers do not matter. So once again, this is based on, of course, investigative journalism by the Washington Post, which is a newspaper of record, right? A world-class newspaper. So what he's pushing is rhetoric, not reality.
But even to that point, I do think
a contravention of his own acts, and once again, 2 decades.
But see, but I think that's like, but I think the issue is that it's not that the conservatives want to get rid of illegal, they want to keep it illegal. That's why it's almost like the drug game, right? Like, who wants to keep drugs illegal? The drug dealers, because that's what gets them, that's what, if they don't want to invite any more competition. If you keep the what's it called, make it illegal, then I can still leverage, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not illegal, an illegal alien cannot ask for a raise. They can't unionize. I can just take advantage of them, and there's no system to protect them. If I give you DACA, now I'm just letting you in. Now all of a sudden you can start, saying if I cut your hours, or I don't pay you on time, or I increase your, what I'm saying? Now there's a recourse now if you have a political system. So I think that they want to keep it illegal so they can still have their leverage. I don't think they want to necessarily get rid of the workers, but yeah. But even to that point, what Mr. Sandman was saying about what you're gonna do for black people, I'm just gonna, close the border. I'm like, dude, you're gonna do that anyway. You know what I'm saying? So don't act like you're doing us a favor. You know what I'm saying? What are you gonna do specifically for us that's gonna, because we're gonna have, and granted, like there's some issues where just like there's some common ground. Like we got an issue that may be similar to, let's say if you got some, something, people in Ohio where you have, a large, I'm maybe not Ohio, but just any state where you have a large poor black population sit beside a large poor white population. Hey, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone with that. You know what I'm saying? But we as black people, we have specific things that, majority, that we need. And hell, there's even a lot of stuff that you can give us that helps, you know what I'm saying? Because the things that we ask for, with the exception of reparation, is stuff that really benefits all of America, right? Because we ask for police accountability. Like, we're not the only ones that get killed by the police. You know what I'm saying? Everyone gets killed by the police. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is true.
Police misconduct for everybody.
Higher rate in proportion to the population.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's a civil thing, and like I said, everyone would benefit from that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, with the exception of So there's a lot of stuff that other people would benefit from if we were to get what we need. But it's just like, I'm kind of sad that they didn't really word it in that way, so that we can so that we can make that push, because obviously this country was never going to do anything that only benefits us. So if we can just word it in such a way that other people may benefit too, you know what I'm saying, maybe they can give it, but they just didn't do a good job on it. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not looking forward to the next 4 years. I'm hoping that
very quickly, Mr. Sandman said Trump said at the NABJ that he has done more.
Yeah, he did say that. That was crazy.
Than any other president since Abraham Lincoln. I guess he wanted to remind us that we're slaves and that we shouldn't ask for much.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That claim is not true. We've had executive orders passed banning segregation in defense industries, banning segregation in. There's been a number of laws that were passed. We talk about Housing Act. We're talking about Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, so on and so forth. So we know that isn't true. But once again, it's almost to the point of like the sister said, that in terms of this paternalism. You should be happy. I'm even talking to your raggedy ass, because I really don't claim you anyway, because you're a bastard and I had you. My side chick had you.
Yeah.
I used to be glad I'm even acknowledging that you exist. Right? And so the questions that he should have made, the retort should have been, okay, so what have you done?
Yeah, right. Name it.
Okay, so what have you done? Break it down for us in bullet form.
Simple.
Break it down in bullet form. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so what people say is the first step back. First off, the first step back was something that was passed by Congress. He simply signed off on it. It wasn't something that he, of course, originated. The second issue is I'm not a criminal, so that doesn't help me at all. Third, I don't like criminals in my neighborhood. I have children. They asked me to be locked up.
Mm-hmm.
So then next.
Yeah, you don't impress me. Just tell them that.
That was so simple.
Yeah, really simple. So brother, it sounds like I should be happy I didn't watch it from what you're telling me.
Yeah, you should watch it if you know what I'm saying, like, don't get your hopes up. Like it was, and now they're talking about they want to do it for Kamala. Like I want to say they extended the invitation to both of them, but only one of them only Trump showed up, and I think they said they're going to try to reschedule one for Kamala. And I'm just like, bro, you missed like. There's nothing you can do. Like if you lost against Trump, like there's nothing you can say to Kamala that's really going to make it.
They're going to softball Kamala. You already know that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like even if you softball it, like all of your credibility is going to go out the window. Mm-hmm. And then if you give her a hard time, it just like it doesn't matter because you didn't give Trump a hard time. You know what I'm saying? Like you
we got a mess.
You missed your shot. Like you really I mean they really missed their shot. They really can't say anything. Like what are you gonna do? Like she gets in there. I mean, yeah, you can give her a hard time, which would be good. You can get her like you can drill her on policy.
Yeah.
Say what now?
Because you want my vote.
Right.
Yeah, but
what's her policy?
Yeah, but like I said, it's just gonna look. I mean, most likely, I feel like, well, with the exception of Faulkner, if she's still the person, but I'm like, I don't think that she's really going to. I mean, what is she going to say? Because Faulkner don't like black people, so she's not going to drill. You know, the only thing you can really drill Kamala on. I mean, well, there's some stuff you can, like with the border stuff. That's really the only thing that someone who is a black person who doesn't care about black people could really drill on. It's like it was the you might be able to get on for like maybe hit her on some DEI stuff, but like the border is really going to be the big thing that they're gonna drill her on that. I mean, but in terms of like what she's gonna do for black people, I'm like, I mean, I don't know if the other two, I don't know if they're gonna bring those two back because they were horrible. So I don't know if they're gonna get another shot at it. But I'm like, who are you gonna put up there that's gonna have the guts that really, you know what I'm saying? Like who's gonna have the guts to really, especially when all these guys are mostly looking for a job anyway from CNN and MSNBC, which one of these are going to have the guts to really drill Kamala Harris?
But like he said, they're not going to do that. It's going to be soft. It is going to be softball.
Yeah. So I'm like, what's the point? I wouldn't even, what's the point at this point? What is the point? You know what I'm saying? You're going to let her come up here and say some nonsense about unburdened by what's been, and then you guys are going to start clapping. I'm like, man, come on, man. Yeah,
I think she's gonna also. Is she gonna reverse the Roe versus Wade? Is she?
She's gonna try to, but she'll try to bring it back. But that's assuming she can get the.
But that was overturned by the Supreme Court. She has no power over that.
Right, that's but they can submit something that probably gets the job done. You know what I'm saying? Just reword it and then just resubmit it and then, pass something that's effectively Roe versus Wade, but they could probably just reword it and call it something else and that's it.
Okay.
Well, what people don't understand, because I grew up in this, the 60s, 70s, 80s and whatever. So I remember when those women would go to back rooms and have abortions and stuff like that, or perform abortions on themselves. But here's the thing. As the years go on, a lot of our black girls have been using it as birth control. You understand?
That is true.
Right. So you have black girls that threw away maybe 1 million kids by now, because this has been going on for a while. And what they was trying to do is save their women, because their women have more abortions than we do. Nobody wants to talk about that, but it does happen. So now they want to reverse it. So they want to reverse it because they want to have more white women have children. But on the other hand, it would save the black children from the mothers that's having abortions. So you doing one thing, but it's also on the other side, it's going to help black women not to have so many abortions to save our babies.
So let me ask you this question, sister, and I don't know if either one of you are familiar with the documentary movie Ma'afa 21.
No, I haven't seen it.
Where it talks about how abortion has been used as a way to try to promote black genocide in America.
Exactly.
But my question is, if these women who have been getting these numerous abortions, I think we would argue that these women are getting abortions because they don't want to be mothers, or they may know that they wouldn't be a good mother. If we had them, if they didn't have the children, what does that do for the children?
Yeah.
What type of predicament does that put that child in? Because we know this, and I've said this on numerous occasions on my platform, that we have an internal and external enemy. This is a
Yeah, we
reality.
do.
The external enemy
We do.
is the ubiquitous and intransigent nature of anti-blackness. The internal enemy is what the racially disempowering, self-defeating, and self-destructive manner in which many of our people live their daily lives, right?
Right.
And so, unfortunately, and you know this since you're older than me, that
Mm-hmm.
many of our households in our community are criminal incubators.
Sadly,
Right?
but true. Yeah. Because I grew up with my mother and father, and they still together, and it's 60 years.
Yeah, my parents are still together. They've been married 47
See?
years.
Mm-hmm. So we
Right.
don't have that anymore. They don't see marriage anymore. They don't see what it takes to be a married couple.
Well, you know, a lot of people now, they want to be outside. What we're seeing
Right.
now, if we're seeing the proliferation, and Dr. Hakiar Matabuti, in his seminal book, if you haven't read it, you need to read it. Black Men, Obsolete, Single, Dangerous, talks about that there's a difference between a revolutionary mentality and a survivalist riot mentality. He says part of that, the revolutionary mentality, the mother and father, they value family, they value marriage, they put children first. He said the survivalist riot mentality, guess what happens? They value the nightlife. They value clubbing, what people now call being outside. He said they typically don't read for themselves. They aren't intellectually curious, intellectually inquisitive. We see this on a macro level in our communities now. This is a problem. So on my platform, and even though we always bet on Black, and if you're watching, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell. But what we find is that we have an external enemy and an internal enemy. And here's the problem, brothers and sisters. When you address the internal enemy, all of a sudden, I thought you were supposed to be on code. I thought you were pro-Black. Why are you turning? Because here's the thing, and I tell people all the time, well, you're supposed to be Afrocentric. I said, well, let me tell you something about what it means to be Afrocentric. I said, in traditional African culture, we're talking about African culture, independent of European and Arab influence, everyone is held accountable. Every single person. And guess what? In traditional African culture, it is extremely conservative.
That's right.
Now we're talking about cultural conservatism, not political conservatism. So, you know, people don't want people to get it twisted. So what are you talking about? It appears to me that you have an unhealthy, racially disempowering, self-defeating perspective of what Blackness is. And you can have that, but you just can't do that around me. Yeah. And we see this even being proliferated on our college and university campuses. Once again, I got a conversation in about 2 weeks. I've been working in higher ed the past decade. It's a problem. And then when you say, hey, you can't act that way, young man, young woman, they say, well, we're supposed to be Black-minded. I said, well, I told somebody, I said, name a African society, classical, medieval, or modern, where behaving this way in an untoward manner is socially acceptable.
Gotcha.
Just give me one example of a society in which you can act like a buffoon in public and it's okay. Classical, medieval, modern.
That's right.
And I said, I will abdicate my position. Right? Unhealthy. Dr. Melania Karinga talked about that we have a value and view crisis. We have an unhealthy self-concept.
We do.
Matter of fact, you've been to the continent. A lot of the brothers and sisters, they see that you're African-centered, that you're Black-minded. They embrace you. We glad you brought your Black ass home. You know what I'm saying? That's what they tell you.
That's right.
But they also would tell you, guess what? There's a reason why we don't really identify with most African-Americans. Why? Because they act like buffoons. And I said, I know, because any self-respecting person doesn't want to associate with people who behave in a manner in which they act like they had no home training. It doesn't matter what the race.
That's right.
I mean, at least I know. I mean, you know how it was when we were growing up. If you was talking to a kid who was misbehaving, your parents would be like, "Why were you talking to that boy?" And you'd be like, "I wasn't talking to him. I told him to leave me alone," knowing you lying your ass off, right? Because you couldn't be friends with someone who was getting in trouble.
That's right. Yeah, because my father and mother knew all my friends. They always came to the house. They knew every single one of them. Yeah, every single one of them. We don't do that anymore.
You couldn't be friends with someone who was bad.
No.
Like I wasn't talking. I was telling him to leave me alone.
Yep. That's true though. I remember that. My father couldn't look for me at a party.
We have situations now where we have mothers teaching their daughters to sell their bodies.
Yes, or strip.
Yeah.
or step on a
tell your
pole.
body.
And that for us, that was embarrassing back in the day. That was
Yes.
nothing to glorify.
No. And here's the other issue. So I remember this, and I'm gonna and then I'm gonna shut up. But we're having a great conversation here. My first semester in my doctoral program, I was taking a class of critical race theory. So I show up. I'm happy to be in a PhD program. I'm amped. I'm hyped. You know, I gotta do it, right?
Right.
We're having a conversation about Nicki. Was it? No, not Nicki Minaj. What's the one from the Bronx?
Cardi B.
Cardi B.
Yeah.
Yes, Cardi B. And so the sister was talking about, well, she's just promoting her divine African femininity. I said, well, there's nothing divine about getting on stage and telling women that they don't have a job or an education, they should sell their bodies. And she said, well, but she has a right to her own individual sexuality. I said, but that's in contravention of being Afrocentric, because Afrocentric focuses on what's best for the community, not the individual. I said, the second issue is she's actually leaning into stereotypes about Black women that were in conscience during the Middle Passage. And that is that what would they say? You can't rape a Black, I'm sorry, you can't delete it. You can't sexually assault a Black woman because they always want it because they're naturally sexually lascivious. So I said, we're actually essentializing racial stereotypes. I said, what the French toast is going on here? And you're being manipulated into believing that it's empowering. Now, I'm not saying that that our women or our brothers should be sexually be prudish, right? I'm not saying that. But we had a level of decorum and tact about ourselves to where whatever I'm doing in terms of my adult romantic relationships should not be put out for public consumption.
Right.
This isn't information that Main Street needs to know about.
Right.
And
we
then we also
that private.
about, you're promoting these women engaging in prostitution and selling their bodies. We also know that is a very dangerous industry. It's an illicit industry. It's extremely dangerous. Where people, I told my daughter about this. I said, don't you ever in life, right? I said, dangerous. Women end up being kidnapped. I showed my daughter an episode of Forensic Files where this guy was a serial rapist and murderer of prostitutes. And this was in St. Louis where he would take them home. He would torture them, record videos, and then kill them. And I mean, so I said,
was this guy white or was he Black?
No, he was a Black guy.
That's what I thought. Okay, I know exactly who you're talking. Okay.
You don't have the black women's best interests at heart when you're telling them to go do something like that. What happened to respect yourself, sister? You're more than that. You can make a living where you don't have to give your body to hundreds and hundreds of men. Your value is beyond what's in between your legs.
That's right.
Right? Like what the? And these people are being glorified. These people are losers. These people should be excommunicated from our community.
Yep.
Losers.
I wasn't raised that way. I still dress conservative. I'm not, and I have a husband, but I don't show my flesh or my backside or all the. That's not the way I was raised. I wasn't raised that way.
I'm not saying that sisters need to be prudes because I'm not a woman, so I can't speak to. But in terms of dressing like you, and I just say forget dressing, actually promoting Black women to be prostitutes. Like this is a problem. I know we've kind of gotten off the rails here. We've gotten into the weeds, but this still speaks to the fact that when you opened up, you talked about Malcolm X taught us about this. Well, Malcolm X said entertainers are not leaders. Malcolm also said they're not even leaders. They're clowns.
That's what he said.
Clowns.
That's what he said. He said them, and he said liberals are the worst. My mother and father used to go to Harlem, and they used to listen to Malcolm. I was a baby. And they used to go. The only time they didn't listen to him is when the day he got killed, because I got sick. So they weren't able to go. But I did meet his twin daughter in Ghana, and I met his oldest daughter in Queens. And I always listen to if you listen to what he's saying now, it applies today.
So Mr. Sandman, yes it does. Mr. Sandman states Cardi B performed in Nigeria and didn't feel comfortable acting like a fool. She saw so many respectful and distinguished Black people.
Yes, she did. She did. They were so impressed with her. She didn't dress and act like he just said. She didn't act like a buffoon at all. They embraced her.
That's interesting. Okay. I gotta look that up. Yeah.
LMA, go right ahead. I'm sorry, brother.
No. You on the roll. I was gonna let you cook, man.
Oh, okay.
No.
It's just frustrating. And one, of course, I'm older, right? I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
I'm middle aged, and so you tend to become a bit more conservative and start agreeing with
You do.
everything your parents told you, right? I mean, one time I called my parents and said, "Listen, I just want to tell y'all right about everything. Okay, bye." Right?
Yeah, I had to do that too.
Having children,
I had to do that too. Yeah.
Teenagers, 16 and 14. I'm like, man, this is bullshit.
It is.
They're trying to ruin these young people's lives.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, as a parent, I'm like, listen, if I didn't spend a bunch of money on this TV, you know what I mean? I break that. You know what I mean? Like, what the French toast is going on here?
Yeah, I agree.
One of my
position is anyone that promotes these type of self-defeating, like I'm like that about 50. I would tell 50. I said, you're a freaking loser. You are a loser promoting this type of death and destruction to our people. You are a loser.
Right. That's right.
Well, what's their thing?
Black man as well.
But what's their retort? Oh, I'm not a role model. You shouldn't be listening to my music anyway. That's what they would retort. But yeah, one of my favorite I ain't gonna use that, but one of the social commentators I listened to, he said it perfectly. He said, "This is what happens when you have prolonged exposure to poverty. Like, this is just a poverty mindset, that survival mindset that you talk about, where it's just like, in previous generations, this would not be acceptable. But if you just been at the bottom for so long that was one guy said, whorehouse culture just takes over. Like, it's almost like, I remember seeing this one video and it was hilarious. And it was basically the kids now, when they, in 30 years when they're adults, and then they have their children, right? And it was a cartoon, and it was these parents, they were taking their daughter to go to a party. And when they went to the back seat, the girl only had like basically pasties and a little bit of scotch tape to cover up her private parts or whatever. And they were basically showing.
What are pasties?
Pasties, like the little sticky, yeah, they're like little circle stickers that cover up your breast or whatever. And that's all she was wearing. She was wearing that and a little piece of scotch tape for her private regions. And it was basically showing like, okay, honey, have a good time. Like basically sending the little girl off to the party or whatever. And it's just like, we're shocked looking at it. But if you really think about it, like that is like where it goes. Like the next generation is going to be worse than you. They're going to take whatever, because when we had, we were young, we were about the same age, you know what I'm saying? When Little Kim came out, you know what I'm saying? She was, Little Kim's a saint compared to some of the stuff you see. But, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, you know what I'm saying? When Little Kim came out, like Little Kim was like, she was like the pinnacle, like everyone was clutching their pearls when Little Kim came out. You know, I was a kid, I thought she was fly. You know what I'm saying? But like, the one thing people got to realize, the next generation is going to take all of your extremes and they're going to go further. So, you know what I'm saying? They're going to magnify it. No matter, like, if you were talking about selling drugs, they're going to be rapping about doing drugs. And then, next generation is going to be talking about, I got my kids doing drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, or if it was, I shot one person, the next generation is going to be like, I did a whole mass shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like the next generation is going to take your extremes and then just double it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we're seeing. And what that show was, what the little cartoon was showing, is just like in the future, like you're going to have 13-year-old. And that was the funny thing about it, because the girl was only, it was funny because the girl was only like 14 years old, and she's going to a party with pasties and a little scotch tape, you know what I'm saying? And that was all she was wearing. And then, the parents are just like, fine with it. All right, honey, have a good time. And they go like, man, remember back in the day when Nicki Minaj was, you know what I'm saying? That was music back in the day. It was just like they're reminiscent of it. It's like, this is them in the future looking back, at us right now. And it's like, it's going to get worse. And I don't know, how do we turn this around without just,
I don't know.
I don't know how we turn this around, because it's an educational thing, but it's going to take 20, how long does it take for a child to go from, 18 years? It's going to take a whole 18-year period where we just have probably more than that, a whole 30-year period where we can get like at least 2 or 3 generations to go through and just not be, just avoid this, just not exposed to this. And I don't see how we're going to do that. Like, this is the fall of America.
I want to speak to what.
I saw. I saw this video.
Talked about evolution of hip hop drug songs. So, sister, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but for the audience, I think you'll like it.
Messing with crack will give you broken dreams, so stay away from drugs. And if I had one wish, it'd be them trucks would never drop cocaine on my strip. I was out moving packs, me and moms was riffing, but I had to keep them lights on, put food in the kitchen. Stepped up to be the man with no dad in the home. I'm just trying to feed my daughter, but I'm killing my own. I'm a dope boy, all the nigga know. Riding around with P's and O's while I'm blowing on that dope. Coke money got me paid now, I'm the host choice. Didn't love me, I was bumming, now I'm pushing Rolls Royce. I'm geeked up off this Molly and this angel dust. Geeked up off this lean and this salvia. I'm turned up off this Zanny, about to have a seizure. I'm so high that I'm gonna meet Jesus. I'm so high that I'm gonna meet Jesus. I'm so high that I'm gonna meet Jesus.
Yeah.
That's an example of what the brother was
saying. Yeah. Well, I grew up in the Bronx, so I grew up with hip hop when it first started.
Absolutely.
So I seen the evolution.
1974. You already know. I know.
That's right.
That's right. Do that back to school block party. You know what I mean?
That's right. So I definitely see the difference from when we started in the 70s all the way up to now. I don't know what they're saying now. I don't even know what the music is now. I don't listen to it anymore. I just don't.
Yeah.
So when I watch BET, I don't know who these people are that's singing or that
I started watching BET a long time ago. Like I'm talking about over a decade ago. I started watching BET probably in 2009.
It was a mess this year. Again,
I was about to do like Huey and the Boondocks and go on a hunger strike until they canceled the network. Right. Matter of fact, I remember I had a brother who, when I was an undergrad, there was a brother who was getting his PhD in chemistry, and he was from Uganda. So he came over, and we were shopping. He was like, "Man, I was really hyped. You know, I found out there was a black television network in America." He said, "So when I got here, I was like, I'm gonna support it and watch the show." He was like, "Man, what is this crap?" Right. After 1 week, he was like, "I'm not watching this anymore."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He doesn't realize. Yeah, he doesn't realize that black entertainment is like owned by white people. So it's just not even.
That's right.
So real quick, let me go over this. I grabbed Dr. Haki Al-Madaboudi's book, Obsolete Single Day, African Family in Transition. Want to kind of highlight some of the things he talked about when he mentioned the survival, cultural existence, accommodations, riot mentality. He argued that this is someone who does not read or study after formal education, buys few books, reads mainly newspapers, sports pages, or popular novels and magazines, works out 8 days for someone else, welfare conscious, get it for nothing attitude, unsystematic and definitely not organized unless it is for someone else, backwardly individualistic, I, me, mine mentality, right? So we're talking about this rugged individualism, right? Which is something America promotes. Not family oriented, regards as property, raise children low, generally single-minded, does not want children or responsibility of home life, not land conscious, actively fights against discipline, not serious majority of the time, not critical or analytical, prefers not to think for self. We're going to talk about mental, do a show on mental side. Shout out to the great ancestor Bobby E. Wright. I think he transitioned. Consumer junkie. If it's advertised, they got to have it. Cannot distinguish wants from needs. Loves the social and nightlife. Lives for the weekend. Loves sexual conquest. A defeatist, has few goals other than acquisition of material artifacts. Puts elders in nursing homes and forgets them. Gravitates towards incompetence and mediocrity. Involved in black on black crime or is apathetic about the issue. You know, big old black Bentley, big old black 9, I clap your monkey ass, you know, black on black crime, that type of crap. Loves any kind of music of the new generation. Can give instructions but not follow them. Avoids and rejects criticism. Committed to self-liberation only. Drug dependent, cigarettes, alcohol, hard drugs, etc. Very quickly, family. Politically inactive. Crisis-oriented, reactionary, egotistical, arrogantly ignorant, right? Has no concept of culture feels he will be forever. The racial underclass, naive about economics, rewards yes people. Now let's talk about what he talks about with the revolutionary mentality. In it. Reads, evaluates, and debates books, newspapers, magazines, scholarly journals, accepts the challenge of education. Worker looks for ways in which to actively work for self and may hold a job outside in order to sustain self and family. Self-reliant, organized and systematic, efficient and diligent, progressively collective, conscious of others, cooperative. Family-oriented, regards mate as partner in struggle, loves children, values trust in relationships. Land conscious, realizes the only thing that nobody is making anymore is land unless you go to Dubai, right?
That's right.
Strong, unyielding, energetic, serious, practices fair play, order and punctuality, honest and dependable, analytical and critical, frugal, buys mainly on need basis, saves money. Social life is developmental, involves children. Creatively aggressive, we're dare the impossible, even if it is possible, respects elders, dislikes incompetence and mediocrity, fights against black on black crime, and understands that this root is white on black crime. We know what KRS One said. He says, rapper, he said, I'm gonna tell you the difference between rap and hip hop. He says, rappers spit rhymes that are mostly illegal. MCs spit rhymes that uplift their people.
That's right.
Loves black art, music, and literature, can give and follow instructions, encourages experimentation and criticism, committed to black liberation, local, national, and international. International, that's where the Pan-Africanism comes in. So you can't dangle something in front of my face, but you're harming my brothers and sisters in Sierra Leone, Ghana, South Africa, and Jamaica, Cuba, etc. That running game on me. Does not use drugs, politically active, not crisis-oriented, acts on information rather than reacts, plans for the long term, alert, prepared for change, self-confident, respects others regardless of race or culture, understands the economic forces that control our lives on a local, national, international level. I think this brother read Confessions of an Economic Hitman, right? Rational decisions and actions rewards merit and achievement. Right? So this is what we're promoting here at Lumumba Speaks the Equal Line Network. And this isn't just talk for me. Anyone who knows me in my personal life, this is something I've been doing with my children since the moment they could comprehend. Literally.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I have pictures on my social media where it's the weekend. I'm not out partying. I have my children playing vocabulary board games. They expand their vocabulary when they're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Right? Every Thursday night, we were going down to the chess club. I was paying $4. They would give me individual instruction from chess masters.
Wow, nice.
Putting in work, right? My children were 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. I have a speaking engagement. They're opening up for me. I put my children in Toastmasters when they were 9 and 10. We're going to get this work. Right? But what I love the most was what values education. Children are a high priority, not a low priority. Because we see this. Matter of fact, real quick, and I'm going to shut up and give you all the floor. I remember before I had children, before I even was married, because I'm divorced, but I was married at one point. And I was out with my homeboys at a club. And I met a young lady, she, petite, dark skinned, just like how I like them, you know what I mean? And I'm like, holla at your boy, holla at your boy, holla at your boy. And she said, well, I just want to let you, I was like 22, 21, 22. She said, I just want to let you know I have 2 kids. I said, well, what the French toast are you doing here? If you have children, why are you at the club?
Why are you at the club? Yes.
Because, true story, when my son was born, I was 23 years old and 10 months. I remember my sergeant was there. My parents were there recording. My sister was there. And I was married at the time. And I remember holding my son, crying. And I said to myself, my days of partying are over with. Yeah. I have a child to raise. I got to be with my child. Not out with my homeboys anymore. All of my, because we grew up together since, elementary school. All of us, we got married, had children. We didn't hang out anymore until the kids were at age to where we could get them together to play together. Why? Because we had a responsibility. And the responsibility was to be a parent 24/7, 365. Right? And he talked about this. Children are a low priority. People live for the weekend. Right? And I give thanks to my parents because, I had that period of my life where I was able to do whatever I wanted as a young adult. Now
Right.
I'm a homebody. I don't need to go out and go to no club. I remember I was at the gym once. I met a sister. She's like, "Oh, I like to go out clubbing." I said, "How old are you?" She said, "I'm 36." I said, "Why would I? I'm too old for that shit.
Yeah.
Too old. I did all that when I was in my 20s."
Right.
Right.
I know I did.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to sleep so I can get my ass up and go to the gym in the morning. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what like I said, lives for the nightlife. It lives to the weekend. But I digress. I'm gonna give you all the floor.
No, I think that that wraps up the issue that we have. We have too many people with the what was the mindset? Yeah, the revolutionary mindset. What was the other one?
I'm sorry. Let me grab it again. 1 second, brother.
Yeah, I see the
Yeah. And this is one of the best books I've ever read. Yes, survival, culture, existence,
survival.
Yes, accommodationist riot mentality. And I'm gonna put the name of the book in the chat.
Please do, because I'm gonna order it.
And I actually got to meet Haki Armada. He actually autographed my book, signed my book.
Yeah. And you know, that kind of goes into, you know, like I said, you can kind of tell that mentality just permeates from I can't get the word I'm looking for. It permeates. Thank you. Permeates through everything because, like I said, I think that if we had a revolutionary mindset, we wouldn't even be having this conversation about Kamala versus Trump. You know what I'm saying? Because this would have been nipped in the bud. You know what I'm saying? After Obama. I mean, even if you know what I'm saying, even if you know, like I said, at the time I was, you know, I wasn't as, how can I put it, racially or culturally enlightened in the past as I was now. But you know what I'm saying? Like I can understand black people looking back being caught on that, you know what I'm saying, being tricked by Obama once. You know what I'm saying? Right. But the fact that we're going through this again, that bothers me. We should have got the hint. Yeah, we should have got the hint that okay, we need to ask for something like because we just wanted a black face and you know, but that's like I said, that reactionary survival thing where it's just like we've been in poverty for so long that you know the idea, you know, because remember back in the day, like you know what I'm saying, it was the highlight of the community if you just saw a black person on television. You know what I'm saying? Like that was if I can see someone else make it, then there's hope for me. You know what I'm saying? And it goes to, but the thing about it is, it's like your hope, your aspiration is that you can get crumbs off of somebody else's table, not for you to have your own food, not for you to have your own kitchen, your own home. You know what I'm saying? Your own aspirations and you know your vehicle to get there. It was, I just want you know to get a pat on the head from you know, and you may be familiar with this, Lamoon, but we talked about Amos Wilson was talking about like I forget the speech he said, but it was something along the lines of a lot of our so-called revolutionaries are just what's the word? Not discontent, not discontent. What's the word he used? Their revolutions are just discontented integrationists, and they're only you know revolutionaries because they're upset and angry at the system for not allowing them in. But if any time that system gives them the signal that they'll be welcomed in, they'll throw off their dashiki and they'll just go running back into the arms. You know, we can almost see that with Van Jones.
Yeah,
you can almost see that with Van Jones.
Well, with Van Jones. I think I know what you're talking about. Where he mentioned I think one of the examples he gave was Clarence Thomas, where Clarence Thomas was a nationalist, but it was only because he was rejected by white people. Yeah. As soon as he was accepted by white people, he didn't give a damn about nationalism anymore.
Yep. You could probably say the same thing about Van Jones. You know what I'm saying? Like when he was a young kid, he was revolutionary, had his dreads, but as soon as them checks start flowing, and I do want to say that, you know, and I like to give at least context before I start dragging people. I do think that poverty, I know you know, like Michelle Alexander, she wrote the book The New Jim Crow. You know, and she was doing an interview, and she said something so profound to me. She said something along the lines of, "It's not only we went from being a slave or whatever to Jim Crow, where they would kill you. You know what I'm saying? Now they can inflict poverty on you, which is worse than killing you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the poverty, the prolonged exposure to poverty that creates this, kind of that mentality. What do you call it? The survival mentality. It creates that. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like I can almost see it too. It's almost, I mean, like I said, and I'm not a religious person by any means. You know, I consider myself to be an atheist, but
brother, I am an atheist as well.
Okay, I'm in good company. Yeah, I had to. I went to some circles that were like, you know, Afrocentric, and they looked down on the fact that I was an atheist. And I said, okay, I can defend my position. But anyway, but I do think of, like, in terms of spirit, like, you know, the human spirit. I can see how Black people's spirit is just completely broken and in disarray. That, you know, that's what poverty does to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just in survival mode to the point where, like I said, back in the day, if you just saw a Black person on the television, you know what I'm saying, that was enough to, like, get you by. And I'm like, I don't want to, you know, because we know we see the pain of our people, and we can see the mindset that pain creates.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, you have to change the environment, because if the environment doesn't change, these attitudes, these mindsets, they're never going to go away, because they're a product of, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like adaptation. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like how you can take the kindest, sweetest dog, you know what I'm saying, that you got. You throw him in the wilderness, and, you know, that dog reproduces. The couple of generations, you know what I'm saying, is not going to be nice. It's going to be you know what I'm saying, if you're in a hostile environment with low resources, and then you got to fight and kill to get yours, like, the mentality that comes out of that, you can't do nothing with it. You know what I'm saying? And so I that to me is like, you know, one of the, you know, the genius of white supremacy. Like I said, I can inflict poverty on you. Mm-hmm. It's like the knife that does, you know, it's like the murder that doesn't leave a blood trail. There's no gun smoke. There's no forensic evidence, but I can inflict it on you, literally destroy generations, and it'll take you generations just to figure out what happened to you. And that to me is just, you know, it's like, that's the evil genius of white supremacy to me, is that they can just, you know, and they do it all over the world, like, you know, invade your country, and then, you know what I'm saying, take your resources, what's the word I'm looking for? Bribe your political leaders, and then say that you can't, you know what I'm saying, they say that you are an unstable country, and that you can't govern yourself, and we need to come in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
They come in, they give you loans, give you loans that you can't pay back, and then say that you are responsibly, you're financially irresponsible. We need to come take it. Like I said, it's the perfect word. Like, it doesn't leave a blood trail, doesn't make a sound. There's no gunshot. There's no, you know what I'm saying, there's no choke. There's no scratch marks. There's no sign of the, you know, like you say, like I see forensics. Like, you know, you can walk in and see a dead body. You see claw marks. You see knocked over furniture. You see DNA evidence. Like this, none of that. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to be so in tune with them to know that, you know what I'm saying, to understand how they operate. And we just don't have that, you know, at the moment. You know,
there's actually a term for that. It's called disaster capitalism.
Yeah,
actual term for that, to where, once, like you said, they foment these issues, and then the solution is, hey, privatize everything and we make money off of it. It's called disaster capitalism. Yeah, but
I can believe it.
On Mawale, I'll always argue he's your favorite historian's favorite historian. He's one of the preeminent Pan-Africans that I know, and he's on the channel, and he actually wrote an article about that on Medium, where he talks about disaster capitalism, so on and so forth. So, yeah. So the disaster look up that term, disaster capitalism. Where they will foment issues, or because that happens in Haiti all the time, where they will purposely destabilize the economy and say, "Hey, we got to come in and fix things," right? Or there is a natural disaster, say a hurricane, Katrina, so on and so forth. They will use it as a way to actually benefit what the elite of the society as well.
Yeah. It's a, like I said, and just like people, and you know, like I said, we're on the bottom, because it's almost like you're playing chess, and when you get checkmated, you know, most of the time the game's over, you just kind of shake hands. But like, this is like real life checkmate, where just like there's no more moves. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can't educate ourselves because it's going to take time, and by the time, you know, we get, you know, we have negative feedback, you know what I'm saying, negative reinforcing elements, where it's just like, you know, back in the, you know, like if you enjoy school and you're good at it, then the miscreants are going to call you white. And so since most people are susceptible to peer pressure, you know what I'm saying, we're going to fight to be part of the crowd, even though that crowd is poison. I remember when I was a kid, back to what you were saying about how you had to go back to your, call your parents and tell them thank you for, I remember back in the day when pants sagging had first started. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And I wanted to do it because I saw everyone else doing it because that's what the cool kids are doing. My mom stopped me. You know what I'm saying? My mom stopped me, and then now that it wasn't too many years, like maybe about I was saying like my mid-20s, and probably my 30s too. That's probably my late 20s. I called my mom and I said, thank you for not letting me do that because now I can't stand the sight of it.
Right.
But had I been allowed to do it, but it basically just making a point that we have that's one thing, and you probably maybe seen that one talk that Dr. Amos Wilson talked about when he talked about how we need to use culture as a shield. We can use it as a shield and a weapon, for our prosperity or whatever. And he was talking about
master teachers that have made that statement.
Yeah, and they'll talk about
our culture could be our immune system. And if I could, brother, what they're speaking to, and Sister Hazel, I know you're familiar with this as well, that when we look back at the Holocaust of enslavement.
Wait a minute. I can't understand you. It's like clips. Okay, say it again.
Yeah, because you're kind of
choppy, yeah.
There you go.
So during the Holocaust of enslavement, what we find is that our ancestors who resisted the slaveocracy, particularly in terms of forming slave revolts, they retained the African culture retention that led to these slave revolts.
Yeah,
because our ancestors who had acquiesced and adopted the culture and religion of the oppressors were the most docile and amenable to the institution of enslavement. So that history of using our culture as a defense mechanism, as our immune system, is rooted in our history. We talk about the Maroons. We talk about the Haitian Revolution, right? So I mean, they're on point there. So when we talk about our culture personality as African people who have always resisted the death, decades, and dysphoria of anti-black life in the Western world, they're on point there. We used our culture as a defense, our culture as an immune system, as that first line. Right. And so, matter of fact, I remember there's a sister, she's actually in a documentary by Malefique Asante Jr. titled 500 Years Later, when she talks about if you teach the children their actual history and their true culture, they won't identify with the filth that they see on television.
Yeah.
Right.
She mentioned that.
Yeah, but the one thing I was getting at was just like, when you have a culture, even if it's a subculture, I'm talking about cultures in general, but because cultures have a way of self-perpetuating themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they root out what is different and try to force people to conform. You know what I'm saying? We had, there was what's his name? Chris. Damn it, what's his name? Chris. I got his book, The Racial Hierarchy. It was Chris.
Let me look it up.
Grandison. Chris Grandison. Chris Grandison. He had a book called Real Sharp Brother. I don't know if he still does interviews, but he hops on. He's a not a PhD, but he did he's a psychologist out of the UK. Real sharp brother. He talks about how.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Chris Grandison.
Racial hierarchy, anti-black culture, and anti-black racism. The causes and the consequences, and evolutionary perspective.
Yeah, evolutionary biologist. That's what I think his name. No, evolutionary psychologist. That's his name. Yeah, that's his field.
Well, that's
Real sharp brother. Yeah, but he talks about how humans evolve to basically mimic what they see, and so if you have black people who are just surrounded by basically anti-blackness at the hands of whiteness. Like, we're going to pick that up. It's not even a conscious thing. It's just, if you're just in it and around it, it's going to soak into your eyes. It's going to come into your ears. Like, you're just going to, every sense that you have in your body, you're going to perceive. And it's going to make its way. Yeah. I mean, it's a deep book when he talks about it. It basically talks about how, how we learn, most of what we learn, especially from, those from, ages 0 to 5 is all, subconscious. Like, it's no one, almost like the baby doll test. I don't know if you've seen that one where they give the kids the black dog and white dog. Yeah, and then just like these children, their parents didn't teach them this. Like, they just picked this up just through the society, just seeing how people treat the white doll and people treat, I mean, how people treat the white people and how people treat the black people,
See the
and
black
it's just
people, yeah.
internalized. Like, yeah, they don't, you don't have to teach them this, and it's just they just pick this up, and it's almost like, you know, going back to what you said about, like, you know, you know, little girl, you know, people like Cardi B, you know, basically teaching people to sell themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't something that someone explicitly taught her. This is just something she just picked up from the culture around her. Like, if you ask her who taught you this, she's not gonna be able to give you a name, but she's gonna be able to give you, this is just the way it is, you know. And it's just like when your culture is messed up like this, like it's hard to unroot it, because, like, you know, me telling you, hey, you know, almost like going to like some kid now and telling him, hey, pull your pants up. He's going to resist, because this is part
Yeah.
of it. I mean, as sick as
Part
it
of the
sounds, this
culture.
is part of
That's
his
his
culture.
swag.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's part of his
But you
culture,
know
and he's
what?
not going to get rid of it without a fight.
But Cardi B don't allow her daughters, her kids, to listen to that nonsense. So that's
Right.
Exactly.
interesting.
So yeah, I mean, and but like I said, there will always be some type of cognitive dissonance, because, like I said, a lot of this stuff is not conscious. Like the fact that she's not gonna let her daughter see it, that's the conscious part
Mm-hmm.
of her talking, right? But her
Mm-hmm.
getting on stage, that's the unconscious part of hers. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So there's always
Mm-hmm.
gonna be this little, you know, cognitive dissonance with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, many people do it. Like it's you know, some of it's like, you know, just hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? Like subconscious hypocrisy, or just like, you know, I'm gonna do it and enjoy it and have fun, but then, you know, like I said, the biggest, how can I put this? The biggest uh, feminist you will ever meet is the man who was a player when he was a young man, and now he has a daughter. Like, you're gonna see all types of, you know what I'm saying, baby girl, don't do this, and, you know, make sure he respects you, and make sure that he blah 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 blah. But like I said, he was doing that when he was young. You know what I'm saying? So it becomes like this cognitive dissonance, because, like I said, he picked it up from his you know, the men around him. So that was the unconscious thing. But now when he has a daughter, now it's conscious, because now he's gonna see that his daughter, the girl that he, you know, out of all the women that he's messed around with, this is the one woman that he actually loves. So he knows what she's about to go through, and now he's, you know what I'm saying. So there's always gonna be that kind of, like, you know, cognitive dissonance that's going on. And like I said, but
This
the
is
brother was
true.
deep.
Yes, because I've
Go
done
ahead.
it with my daughter. Like, listen, I'm telling
Yeah.
you from experience. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is. I mean, the biggest protector of women is going to be that player who now when he was young, he was running through women like crazy, and now he has a daughter. Like, but you want to see all types of, you know what I'm saying, you know. But that's just the way it is, you know. And that's just the one thing about, like, the human psychology, and, you know, the human psychology. It can do some great things, but man, it's a dice roll.
It's
Like,
very
you never,
strong.
you know what I'm saying. Yeah,
The mind is very strong.
yeah, it's strong, but it's not unpredictable. But you really have to understand psychology to know, like, how you should move in this world. Like, because, like I said, if you don't understand psychology, or just, you know, and I'm not a psychologist, but I just, you know, just a basic understanding of it. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna look at this world, and then just you can't make sense out of it. You can't make sense of why people are making the decisions that they're making, and then, you know, goes back into, like, the you know, the religious argument. And that, you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a religious person, but I do got a lot of critiques of religion. It's, oh, that person just has a bad spirit, or he's just bad. You know what I'm saying? That's the one thing I hate about, like, this you know. Well, I ain't trying to get into it, but it's turned into a conversation of good versus evil, when this is a conversation of, or morality, when it's really a conversation of resources versus no resources, right? If you give people, some of the crimes will change, but if you give people the resources that they need to get the education that they need to build the families that, you know, create these kind of, you know, positive environment, you're going to see crime drop. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the crime that you see in the black community is, you know, these are economic crimes. You know what I'm saying? These are crimes of poverty. This is the mindset that poverty creates. You change the environment. I'm not going to say that the crime rate's going to go to zero, but it's definitely not going to be where it is now. You know what I'm saying? And the types of crime is going to change. But I think the types of crime are going to change, and then the frequency of crime is going to go down. But like I said, I don't, you know, I don't look at it as a good versus evil. I think there are some evil people, But I think the majority of people, it's just you just been living in poverty for too long.
Right. That's a
You got to
good
think
point.
about it. At this point, you got people who got 4 generations on welfare.
Right.
Yeah.
Their grandma was on welfare.
That's so crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Not married. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got 4 generations of children born out of wedlock.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just like when your grandma, you know what I'm saying? Because even with us, you know what I'm saying? Like we can pull, you know what I'm saying? My parents were on that, but I had some uncles and aunts that were on that bullshit. But you know what I'm saying? But we have memories of, you know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna be a while because think about it, because you said your parents were married for 40 years?
Yeah, they've been married 47 years.
Yeah, so your 47 years, my parents have been married for like 53 years. You know what I'm saying? There's not gonna be too many more people who are gonna be able to say, yeah,
No,
my
it's not.
parents were married for that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If they were married at all, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's you know, what type of mentality is that type of environment going to create? You know, and
Right.
that's a rough conversation to have because it's only going to get worse from here. You know.
It seems so. Because a lot of girls weren't even raised in a house to see how a married couple operate. And then you
Yeah.
see how they operate when they do get married. They don't have a clue about marriage at all.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of guys
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I remember the first time seeing, and it didn't dawn on me like the first time seeing a young black couple, because I would see boyfriend and girlfriend, and I would see older married couples like my uncles and aunts, like they were older and married, but like to see like a young married couple, I was like, damn, it's, you know what I'm saying? When I saw it, it just dawned on me that I'd never seen one. You know what I'm saying? I'd never seen a functional, well, it's been a long time since I've seen a young black couple that were, both of them were educated, both of them were, had what's the word I'm looking for? Gainfully employed. They lived in a nice house. They actually liked each other and loved each other. I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? It blew my mind. I thought about it, like, damn, I've never seen that before. You know what I'm saying? So
that's funny.
It's
Because that's what I grew up with. All my uncles and aunts, all of them. Yeah, my family on both sides of the family, it's always had a male head of the household.
Yeah, like you said, you got generations of, you know what I'm saying? You got people who just don't even know that this is what they're supposed, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially when interacting with women or interacting just in general, like they just they don't see, because even with me, like I just kind of picked up, you know what I'm saying? Like along the way, like how to, you know what I'm saying? Like the mindset, even if, like techniques, there's like little techniques you can have, but like just the for me, like I've always had the inclination that I'm supposed to be the man of the house and I'm supposed to, provide, protect and provide. Like that was just, no one told me that. I just picked it up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And now I feel like there's like people aren't even really picking that up. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So I'm just, like I said, there's certain things you teach and there's certain things you just kind of absorb from the environment. And that's what I saw. That's what the one thing that I kind of got from Grandison when I was listening to his talks or whatever. Like there's a lot, and that's what makes it so insidious. Go ahead.
I'm gonna ask you a question. You don't think the young girls or females, by looking at like love and hip hop and all that other stuff, you don't think that shaped their identity a little bit? You know what I'm saying?
I think so. I mean, it's a part of it. I mean, put it this way, I don't want to put it as one TV show. Like people say, like, oh, you listen to rap, so therefore it's not just the rap. Rap is just a part of it. It is the entire, like if you have, put it this way, if you had a situation where you have a young girl who has a loving mother and a loving father, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Surrounded by friends, positive, you know what I'm saying? And then she just likes to watch Love and Hip Hop, whatever these ratchet shows are for fun. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. You know what I'm saying? But if you have the same girl who has a dysfunctional family, fathers in and out of jail, in and out of life, mothers, just doing whatever, and then she's surrounded by other people doing the exact same thing, then that love and hip hop thing is going to, the effects of love, the negative effects of love and hip hop to me are going to be stronger in the girl in the second scenario, because like I said, your home situation is the biggest one. Like, do you have two loving parents who engage you mentally, who set a good example, And then, because it's not just your parents, it's your parents, your uncles, your teachers, like the people around you. If they're positive and got their stuff together, then chances are you're going to pick it up and you're going to follow suit. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way cultures are. Like cultures are, you're going to, as a child, you're trying to emulate, the people around you who are successful. Like, that's the one thing like Granny C was talking about, like, back when we were hunter gatherers, you know what I'm saying? The children would try to emulate, especially the boys, they would try to emulate the men. So the best hunter, they would try to emulate the best hunter, you know what I'm saying? Because as, the best hunter would have, more successful kills, he would garner more attention. And the children can look up and see that, wait a minute, all of these adults are focusing on this one man. So I need to be like him. You know what I'm saying? I need to emulate him. And it was just like, I don't have to teach you that, but just children, we just instinctively know, like it's part of our evolution that we just focus on who the adults are focusing on, right? So that's how you can get like these rappers that, you know what I'm saying, kids are trying to emulate rappers. You got kids now, don't putting the money phone up to their head. And I'm just like, you don't even know what you're doing, but I saw this adult doing it and I saw other adults paying attention to him. So I'm going to do what he's doing, And so it's so to me, I don't want to put it, excuse me. I don't want to put it on love and hip hop, but I want to put it on the culture that creates love and hip hop. And that culture is probably shared by a lot of children as well.
Yeah,
So
I think it's important that just as a quick veggie back, I know that the Ghanaian proverb states that the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people.
it does.
So that's something to consider as well. Go ahead, sister.
When you went to Ghana, I'm going to switch. Did you visit the slave castle?
I did not.
You didn't?
I did. That's not something I wanted to see. I mean, I've read. Let me turn my camera on. I've read extensively about what transpired. I've done a lot of research, unfortunately, on that process, the transatlantic slave trade, the Holocaust enslavement. Let me back up very quickly. I typically don't like using the term slave trade because it wasn't really a trade. It was, when people say trade, what you're really thinking of is business gone bad, but and that's not what that's not what transpired there.
No, it did not.
But I didn't go. And I mean, of course, people were telling me, some people telling me you need to go. Some people, was like, I kind of align with you. It's not something I would want to see or experience. But what I do plan to do is return during maybe the Panifest, or even if I don't go during the Panifest, but I'm quite sure you're familiar with the Panifest. And there's a number of activities, like, there's a situation where you kind of symbolically you would bathe in what is considered to be a sacred river, right? And there's different sites that you would visit.
Right.
So I would do those things rather than actually go to the slave castle. And part of the reason is, of course, many people would argue that a lot of Wazungu are there when you go.
Right.
So there's a lot to unpack. But I did visit, of course, the Dr. Kwame Nkrumah Museum. I visited, of course, the Black Star.
That made me lightheaded when I went. It made me very sad and lightheaded.
Yeah, I went
when I went to this museum.
Right, to the W.B. Du Bois Center. I went to the W.B. Du Bois Center. So, yeah.
Then you went to the Slave River, right?
I did not.
The Slave River? You didn't? When I went to look down, I got lightheaded again. So when I reached down to touch the water, I was lightheaded for maybe 3 different places. But they had gold in their water, which I thought was interesting. And somebody said, why didn't you grab it? I said, because ancestors may be attached to it. I don't think so. I'm going to leave it right where it's at.
And part of it is because maybe you're not a thief, right? I mean,
right.
Right. You know what I mean?
That's true.
You're not a criminal, right? So,
no.
So listen, but we're going to close out. So I want to give both of you all. And first, I want to thank you all for tapping in. You're always welcome here at Lumumba Speak Online Network to of course, format these type of courageous conversations that we have where we're really questioning, right? So many of the issues, as I said in the opening, that have been normalized in our community. But I want to make sure that I give you all a chance to give you all your final thoughts before we close out this evening tonight.
Yeah, all I have to say is do your research. Do your research. That's all I can say on both candidates. If that's what, do your research, especially on her. Pay attention. That's all I gotta say.
Brother LMA.
Yeah, great conversation. Thank you for having us. I think at this point, politically, we need to start focusing on 2028. Like I said, that voting. If all we're doing is voting, then we're already behind the eight ball. We need to be actually.
Yes.
We need to start the process now for 2028. So hopefully we can get it going, and we'll go from there. And like I said, policy,
a good one
policy,
and a younger
policy.
one.
Yeah.
I want more younger people.
Policy. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not going for personalities. We're not going for who can do the Dougie, who can do whatever dance or TikTok dance or whatever. We're talking about policy.
Right.
So
right.
No more.
It's not a high school, of course, student
Exactly.
body president race, right? Absolutely. We're going to focus on popularity. Absolutely. But family, you all know what to do. Appreciate you all for tapping in. Until next time, always bet on black. Peace.
Always be one.